Daredevil goes back to Marvel, and Tom Konkle joins us to talk about Disney plus 18 and more, or 18 plus, here on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, where you is, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. We have reached the end of another week here on whatever you want to call it, the continuation of Shutdown 2020.
The real life prequel to Mad Max.
That's right.
Basically, yes.
The real deal. I would call it 2020, the shutdown version. Yeah.
Except for instead of gasoline, everybody's looking for internet and Xboxes and PS5s.
And toilet paper. Let's not forget
toilet
about
paper,
that.
which,
And toilet
again,
paper.
I went to the store and again the completely stripped all of the shelves. I couldn't believe it. It's like, what is it's psychological. The news makes people panic and they go, oh God, I've got to have toilet paper. I've got to have this. And then they strip it and they create the very thing that they are broadcasting is going to happen. It's crazy.
The news are, I don't even want to get started, but let's just say that over the course of the last few years, and especially this year, if there's one institution I have lost faith in, and I don't want to get too much into that.
I actually think you would have a completely different experience of life if you didn't have the news or updates happening in your life. Like if you didn't turn on the television, you were, obviously you're aware, you live your life, you do whatever, but you would not have the level of panic, paranoia, all of the different strange decisions people make in their lives if you just didn't watch the news. You would have had a completely different year.
I have to say this because like when YouTube did this change where they started suppressing independent content like ours, and started to really push like the corporate stuff and corporate news and everything, then suddenly my recommended feed was filled with all of these clips from CNN and Tonight with Trevor Noah or what have you not. And after like watching those, it's like, this is madness. These things will drive you nuts. It's just fear-mongering, all of it. I mean, there's some level of information there, but the adage I've heard before is completely true. If you don't watch the news, you're uninformed. If you do watch the news, you're misinformed.
Yeah, that's a very good aphorism. That's so true. I everything they have as a title now is either a conjecture or it's not news. It's like we're looking at what could be the worst 4 months of the thing. It's like that's not news. That is an opinion piece that you're running as news. It may or may not be that way, but it's like front page news. MSNBC or NBC. I see in my feed, and I'm like, that you don't know that. You're predicting the future and calling it news. It's insane.
But we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. Everyone watching, first of all, thanks for watching. Let me introduce to you our guest of today, in case you hadn't noticed yet, Tom Konkle.
Hello.
That was my fault. I did a boomer on the intros. Red Monarch sent us a 99-cent super sticker, though. Thank you so much. And we have one from, go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, from who says, hi, gents. Well, hi to everyone in the chat. Now we have quite a few watching from lots of different places. We have Sander Hammerslag, who is referring to the great reboot 2021. So that's awesome. And we have Sultan Al-Fahim watching, saying, madness, this is Sparta. Yeah, this is so true. And we have Joel Rice, who says, hi, chat, hi, Wrench users, hi, Tom and Andre. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so some other cool ones here. We have Robert in the chat, who has some very healthy advice for us all. Haven't watched any news channels in months. No, you seek out your own stuff, and you'll be better for it. And Dark Winter says, what, toilet roll mania again? Well, not where I'm at, but in the States, evidently. I saw Robert Meyer Burnett tweet that out, that he couldn't get any toilet paper in his store either. So, yeah.
I'll have to send him some, I guess.
Mine was, It was stripped in L.A. I went in there and they have the old signs up again, one per customer, and they're all gone. And it's like, well, this has just been created by the news saying, oh, no, trust me, it's going to be bad. And then, of course, they create a story that then they cover. See, all the toilet paper is gone. And it's like, it's not news.
Yeah, that's how you drive your populace nuts.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Vertical Horizon says, anyone else suffering from a turkey hangover?
I wish I
On
was,
that
but-
note, let me congratulate every American in the chat on a belated Thanksgiving yesterday. I hope that you all had a great time, and I hope that you all had massive funerals for your turkey friends with loads of visitors.
That's right. Well, in defiance of our governor, we got together as a family and had turkey, and somehow we all survived. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And here is one very relevant. Sultan Al Fahim again says, honestly, Disney's problem is that they're too focused on PG-13. Hold that thought, because we are going to get into that today. And
Thank
also
you,
Mr. Mr. Tinkletruck says, good to see the great Konkle is back. Yeah, it's always a pleasure when we have Tom Konkle joining us.
Thank you.
So that's brilliant. So yeah, everyone in the chat, thanks for joining us, and let's start to get into the topics of today, because today we're going to be a little bit Marvel centric. And let's begin with a scoop from our good friend Mikey Sutton, who, by the way, predicted that a certain character would appear in The Mandalorian, as was kind of confirmed in yesterday's episode. And I'm not going to spoil anything more till we
just watched
to our
it just
live
before the
roundtable.
show, actually.
Oh, perfect. Then we can go straight into live roundtable afterwards then.
Hopefully.
Brilliant.
As long as everybody else got to watch it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to check with Mr. H. I saw that he had his review.
He did. He got to review it. I don't know about Rob, but yeah. Culture Casino sends us a $1.49 super sticker. Thank you so much, Culture. Good friend.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure to be on his channel a couple of times. And let's get into Daredevil. And Blackass25 says, I hope the show doesn't leave Netflix. I take it that you are referring to Daredevil. And yes, it is leaving Netflix. That is exactly what is happening.
Yeah.
Because Netflix have had the rights to Daredevil for all this time. That's why Marvel haven't been able to do anything. So Netflix, they could cancel the series for purely political reasons. And that political reason was that Disney was creating Disney Plus, which would make them a competitor. That's when Netflix said, fine, then we're no longer supporting you. We are canceling every single one of your shows, and we're going to keep the characters for as long as we can until you get them back and can do anything with them. On Sunday, according to Mikey Sutton, whom we have learned to trust, Daredevil is returning to Marvel. You will notice that happening by Daredevil suddenly disappearing from Netflix. Now, the moment that happens, that is the moment when Marvel can formally start doing something with Daredevil. Up until this point, they haven't been able to write a script. They haven't been able to do any kind of take. They haven't been able to contact any actor. At least that's what it says in the contract. What they may have done behind closed doors, that's of course anyone's guess. But the official story is that the actors, the cast, all of them, they've all been just waiting, and nothing can begin until this Monday, because Daredevil returns on Sunday. So I'm curious, what do you think about this? That Daredevil will be removed from Netflix, go back to Marvel, and then Marvel can do whatever they want with him. What do you think is going to happen? Konkle, let's begin with you. What are your feelings on this, and what do you predict that Marvel will do?
You know what? I think it's been a long time coming. I think, again, this continues the strip of intellectual properties from Netflix that are not internally really created by Netflix. And what's happening is you're creating the little mini fiefdoms, little mini empires that each channel, which is linked to a particular studio or their library, is beginning to just gather and get all of their IP, all their titles, all the property they have under one tent. So it makes complete sense. I think having Daredevil come back into Marvel Studios, which of course means then it ends up probably on one of the Disney channels, makes complete sense as a business move, and getting it under Feige's kind of control will mean that there'll be more integration of Daredevil. I think it's, as usual, this is very bad news for a company like Netflix, because Netflix begins to show its weaknesses, which is other than streaming its own programs or generating some basic movies, they don't really have any marketing. They don't have any ancillary, you don't have toys from their various things. They're not really a movie studio. They're still a distributor that produces their own content. So I think we're going to see Daredevil get, somewhat retconned, but it is not a surprising move at all that Marvel will want to get as much of their property into the Disney pipeline. I just hope that what made the first, at least for me, the first couple seasons of Daredevil good was that edge it had, where it would pull, some really interesting creative things. Like there some of the fight scenes and the choreography of it were really nice little cutting edge moves. There was one I'll never forget where they go from room to room when he's doing something, and the fight continues that way. So I'm hoping that
the hallway fight.
Yeah,
You're
the
referring to
hallway
that.
fight was
Yeah,
amazing.
the one take hallway fight. They're amazing to me.
They
In my
are
opinion,
amazing,
the
and
best fight scenes put on film.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm hoping it keeps that edge, even if it moves under the Disney tent. One of the problems, of course, with Disney is they tend to make things slightly blander with a lot of the content that they're putting out on their streaming service. So I'm hoping that it keeps its edge.
Yeah, I mean, the curious thing about this is, and this might go into the next part of our conversation later, so we'll come back to it, but I wonder if maybe things like this and the recently announced Deadpool 3 might be things for the new Disney 18 Plus or Disney Plus 18. Well, we lost Tom. Disney 18 Plus coming up. But I'm curious, did you read somewhere that the show is leaving Netflix right away, or?
I assume so. I do not know for a fact that they will be leaving right away. But here's the thing: if Marvel gets the rights back, that would be production rights.
Yeah,
Then
that's what I'm saying.
Then of course there could be like some contingency that they get to keep the series for some time after that as well. Although honestly, it would surprise me. I would imagine that then they get the whole thing back, lock, stock, and smoke and barrels. But
you could be right, and that's where, because there's times where generally when a show will get sold off or get canceled one place and go another, generally the whole show goes with it, a la Cobra Kai, where YouTube didn't want to continue it or they couldn't afford to continue it, but yet whatever that happened behind the scenes, they went to Netflix, so now all the show's on Netflix. I'm curious if when Netflix signed this deal, that even though they only figured X amount of seasons out of this, that they would have. I can't imagine they wouldn't have signed on to have the show on on Netflix for a few years after they would figure the show would even be done.
It's quite possible. It's quite,
and that could get in the way of the continuity too. Is the other reason I bring it up.
Yeah, because here's the thing that we know, or we have good reason to think that the production rights are returning. We don't know for a fact that the show will be leaving Netflix. Those two things need not be connected at all.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. And then the other side of it, that might be that might necessitate them using a different continuity, whether they wanted to or not. Is the other thing I was going to get to.
Yeah, I think that they can sort that out with a soft reboot, kind of like what they did with the Hulk from Ed Norton to.
Because I've been getting, we've been getting a lot of rumors about the whole Charlie Cox coming back as Daredevil again, and Vincent D'Onofrio has hinted a few times that he expects to be back someday as Kingpin. So I have a feeling they had a conversation when this all went down. I mean, we talked about that then too. Again, speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know if. Welcome back, Tom. By the way, you must be on Spectrum, according to Script Doctor.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there'll be a soft reboot, which worked incredibly well, as you said, Andre, with the Hulk. You know, it just very smoothly transitioned in. It might not be a bad thing that they're bringing it under one tent.
Yeah, I think so. I just saw like a comment here in the chat I wanted to address real quick. Daniel Holt says, apologies, I know off topic, but when is this week's STD review? We're due for a good Rob rant and hope R&B can stop by. He's going to rip it apart. Yeah, we absolutely want Robert Meyer Burnett to join
kind of what we're waiting
for
on,
the next two. So as soon as we'll be able to work something out with him, we'll have that live review coming for you. Since it's not just this week's episode, it's the last one too. We were too busy with everything else. We have like this massive interview coming for you that I'm really excited for, which is like 2 hours long. So it took like some time in the editing. So yeah, look forward to that. But yeah, let's get back to the topic at hand. But yeah, we mentioned the soft reboot. Because here's the thing: what do you think they're going to do with Daredevil and the others? Because to be clear, they're getting Daredevil right now. The Punisher and everyone else, they're still on ice until a certain amount of time has passed since the last season aired. And since so now it's that amount of time since season 3 of Daredevil, but season 2 of The Punisher came later, so he's still with Netflix for the time being.
Right. Yeah. I'm thinking of broadening. Don't you think they'll broaden the scope somewhat of what they can explore in Daredevil now that there's more characters and things that it can encounter? I mean, I would think that there are some certain casting possibilities. There's certain concepts that they could broaden the show and make the show more expansive, which might be great for fans to see some Daredevil stories have a more epic scope and possibly cross over into some other concepts within the Marvel universe now that they're all able to talk to each other. You might also see on the creative side them able to pull some of the better people that have been working on Marvel. You know, you might see a guest director here or there that come from Marvel features, or you might see some of the writers cross over with some ideas more easily.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And also, we have some more rumors of exactly what they might do with
That's
Daredevil.
funny. I was just going to bring this up.
Yeah.
What have you heard?
Well, we just got this come across the transom here. Possible team up with Spider-Man, which is something I was going to say is a popular team up there.
Seems like a natural, yeah.
Yeah, and the connecting tissue there is, of course, the Kingpin.
Yep.
You could, like I say, you could have a character that broadens the world by connecting to two other characters.
Yep. And again, though, this also opens up the possibility now. Do you think maybe between this and the Daredevil or the Deadpool announcement that opens up the whole idea of the Disney 18+ thing that we've been hearing about, Andre?
I absolutely think so. And to briefly go into that then, Disney 18+. So far, this is just a rumor. But it's a rumor that may become reality on December 10th. Because in the Q4 earnings call that Disney had, they were teasing this other event on December 10th, which is when they're going to go through what they're going to do going forward on the creative side. Now, we've had some leaks, and I believe it was Pirates and Princesses that first broke this, because there they have a couple of Disney insiders. And according to them, the rumors that they have heard is that what is to be announced on December 10th is Disney 18+. Now, this would obviously, as the name suggests, be the more adult-inclined line of Disney Plus, one for adults, and this would of course be then where they can put stuff like Deadpool and the Punisher movies, Punisher series, the existing Netflix series,
Right.
the stuff that won't fit on the more typical PG-13 content platform, or just PG content platform, that is Disney Plus, but that would work very, very well on something like Disney 18 Plus.
Right. But of
So
course, the
that's
first
the
question
rumor.
is, what about Hulu? And I think that the answer may lie in the whole deal with Universal, possibly. Because, again, why would they want to put stuff out on Hulu to benefit one of their competitors? And we've seen how cutthroat Disney is. And I'm sure another thing Andre was going to get to is, they've got a lot of Fox films that they don't have any place to put. They've got an Alien series on the horizon. Another Predator film was just talked about, and an Alien film for that matter. So a lot of R-rated content they're definitely interested in working on. So I think a Disney 18 Plus makes sense. I don't know about the name, though, because that's just weird.
It sounds weird. I don't think it's a great branding name, but you're right, Andrea and Tom. I actually think that because they acquired 20th Century Fox's library, they're sitting on a lot of great stuff that just doesn't fit with the branding that they've already done with the Disney Channel. I feel like this is yet another nail in the coffin for a lot of other streaming services, because a lot of the ones that relied, like Netflix and Hulu, relied on content coming to them from various studios. And the more the studios own the streaming platforms and means of distribution they have, the less they're going to share. So you're going to see all the edgier stuff, the R-rated stuff that, stuff we like the original Predator and things like that. Well, that's just going to live there on that Disney 18 Plus channel, and that's going to be the one place to see it. And it makes perfect business sense for them, because they can say, no, we've got this other channel. You should subscribe to this as well if you really want to see this. And they've basically, they can double dip on two different services.
Right. And to go to my other point is one of the other reasons why I think they're taking Hulu out of the equation is, and to get to Jason Gallagher's point here, I don't think they're going to divide the audience so much as it'll be just an add-on to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And that'll also open the door for them to go, worldwide, as to where Hulu is just something that's only national at this point. And I think maybe in South America or Canada or something like that, but not even in Canada, I don't think. But I only think it's only in a few places, and the U.S. is the main one. And again, they have a competitor involved in there. Comcast owns a big portion of it too, so...
Yeah, I think Disney is going to take less and less interest in Hulu as a business prospect as they get more and more things coalescing under the Disney streaming service. And I think you're right. They may just make it like $1 or $2 add-on. And hey, you can also upgrade to this tier. It's funny. They're all creating their own little cable services that are basically their studio's libraries. And you'd be like, hey, $2 more and you can get all the, R-rated stuff in Disney's line. And what's going to happen with a company like Hulu is they're going to go, okay, we're losing about half of our stuff again. So either another studio is going to have to step up and start providing more content, or you're going to see them increasingly irrelevant. This is basically a streaming war that's happening right now. And the war is driven by content and who owns it and who wants to control it. And it's in no one's interest, as you said, for Disney to put money in Universal's coffers.
Right. And again, it makes sense going forward for them to have this as a secondary place because of all the Fox movies and stuff that are going to be obviously R-rated going forward. They're going to have a place to put them, Deadpool 3 being one of the first ones we talked about. We got a few super chats. I'm going to start with this one, and then we should probably go backwards, Andre, or at least get to the rest of them.
Yeah, sure. Just feel free to begin.
STR Red Wolf sends in $5, says, why don't they revive Touchstone Films? Name that way they have it for distributing adult fare. Make Disney Plus be Touchstone streaming. Yeah, honestly, I feel like Disney 18 Plus is probably just a placeholder.
Yeah,
unless
I like
they
Touchstone streaming.
Something like that. Or too bad they
streaming. Yeah.
Too bad they dropped Fox, part of 20th Century Fox, or could it be Fox streaming?
Yeah.
That's what I would have done, actually. That's the only thing I don't understand about that. They dropped the Fox name supposedly to get themselves away from the Fox News and the Fox networks kind of thing, which I understand to a point. But 20th Century Fox itself has been associated with movies a hell of a lot longer than it's just been associated with Fox News and
That's right.
and the networks. Honestly, I think they should have said, the Murdoch should have had to change Fox News's name. Now, Fox Network, I understand not changing, but Fox News could easily change its name.
Great brand, that you think 20th Century Fox, it's like goes back to the early days of filmmaking, and it's such a recognizable logo, such a recognizable name. It's a shame to throw out all that history. But
I mean, they kept the logo thing with the the whole they still have the entrance the same, and the logo's similar. They just dropped the Fox part of it. Now it's just 20th Century Films or whatever it is. Yeah,
exact Century Films. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it is a shame. And again, I think the really interesting thing is going to be, this would be as if movie theaters in the 70s and 80s suddenly became allied with only certain studios. So, you would go to a Laemmle to see 20th Century Fox. You would go to AMC if you wanted to see Paramount film. It's exactly how it was at the beginning of the movie business, which is why they broke up the theater trust,
which is funny because they're talking about rescinding that or whatever. They already have possibly lapsed.
Yeah, I think they have found a way to legislate rescinding the kind of monopoly that you have. But think about it. Here I am, as a filmmaker. Let's say I go and make a movie. Well, depending on who picks it up means that there's only a certain number of places that it's going to be able to go on a streaming service, because that's locked up. If I make a deal with Warner Brothers, I know that film is going to only be on HBO Max. Or if I make a film with Disney, I know it's going to be here. There actually is more choices than ever and less choices than ever at the same time. You have very narrow cast sort of places that if I make my film and say I want to sell it, I know that I can't have it on 3 different platforms. It's going to be on one, and they're going to want exclusivity. And the problem that creates is I've gone to Netflix with things, and I've gone to them with movies, and they set a price. And it's very, very low, and they want exclusivity for 2 years. So if it's not something they develop internally, they could turn around and go, okay, we'll give you $30,000 and we want it exclusively for 2 years. Well, $30,000 does not pay for a movie, does not do anything. And they pay at the end of the run. Netflix does not pay you for your movie at the beginning of the run. They pay you when it's done after 2 years. Now, how does an independent even survive that way?
Yeah, I've heard some of their practices can be.
Could it be that you're not meant to? Could it be that they only want some parties making movies, that they want to basically pull up the ladder for anyone but the incumbents that have an infrastructure that's already made for this?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you got a point there, Andre. Not only that, they want to keep out. It is almost like a gatekeeping kind of thing. Now, I guarantee you, if you were a bigger studio or
because here's one thing that everyone has to keep in mind, and I do not want to get political here, but I want everyone to notice who all of Hollywood was behind in the election that is still in progress, actually, technically. Who was all of Hollywood, all the studios, who was everyone so vocally behind?
Mm-hmm.
And whenever someone gets behind something like that, then they don't do it for your benefit. There's no altruism there. They do it for their own benefit.
Absolutely.
They went behind that candidate because they think that they're going to get something out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
And what they get out of it doesn't necessarily have to benefit you. It doesn't have to benefit any independent filmmaker. It only has to benefit the incumbents and the huge stars and everything that are the ones going out really vocal with their support, the ones trying to influence everyone. It's going to benefit them. And I think it's all about bailouts and changes in legislation.
Yes. Oh, yes. There'll be a lot of lobbying now. I think you're absolutely right. You're going to have a very sympathetic ear, and that's exactly what they want. And part of the problem is if you have, you know, a lot of the great things that we love now were started as independent ideas that went to studios. And it's just like that was again in the 70s, where nobody knew what the heck Star Wars was. It took one person to kind of, you know, Alan Ladd Jr. to go,
Mm-hmm.
all right, it sounds crazy, we'll make it. Well, now
Yeah.
it's exactly the same way. You go to a Netflix, they're like, we're Netflix, you know, we only deal with a few people. And yeah, they're pulling up the ladder, because I could come with a fantastic movie. I could make a terrific movie. I have a couple movies I'd love to make right now. I was talking to Vernon about making, and we both went, well, let's hope we don't take it to Netflix to start, because that's not a business. You can't make a $5 million, $10 million movie, genre movie, and then turn around and go, okay, Netflix, here it is for 2 years for $30,000. That's not a business plan, because they want it exclusive. Basically, they're saying, don't make that movie. You either make it with our oversight, or we're just not interested.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. You know, the same thing with Hulu. I pitched Hulu, and I had an original idea, and they said, well, you have to have Disney executives. You have to have a Disney executive in charge of production, or we won't even consider taking it.
I was just going to say, it's probably gotten even harder now at Hulu with Disney.
Yeah. Oh, much harder. And that's the thing. It's like, well, how do you come with a developed project, or God forbid, a shot and put together project, and have Disney oversight from the beginning? That's a paradox. You can't have it if you've already shot it. So what they're saying is, bring us something. We'll take your idea. We'll put oversight on it with our own executives. And then if you're lucky, you know, you can ride along. You might be able to direct it. You might be able to write it. But basically, it'll become our property, and we will make it. And that's it. And you have no other choice.
Yeah. Silver Nova came in with an Australian $5. Thank you so much. I enjoyed season 1 and 2 of Daredevil. That being said, I'm apprehensive and worried about what Disney and Marvel may do to the character. Again, I think it all depends on what they do as far as where they put him and utilize him. If they stick into a similar continuity, if they go with the Disney 18 plus thing, or if they try to cram him into Disney plus, the standard one, then he will be watered down. I think Feige has seen that characters like him and Deadpool and stuff like that can be very lucrative in the state they're in. So I don't think they're going to rock the boat too much. I think we've learned that with Deadpool, and I've said that from the start, even though people were kind of freaking out. I was like, don't worry. They're going to realize that they're doing nothing but throwing out money if they want to make a Deadpool 3 PG-13. They did their little test with the Once Upon a Deadpool. It failed. At least that's my feeling on the matter. I don't know if Andre wants to add anything. Or...
I don't. I think that they've already seen what works and what doesn't, and I do not think they're going to change Daredevil too much, because Netflix had a really, really successful template.
Yeah, it was
now for successful. Everyone else. It's all up in the air. Like, for instance, with the Punisher, I think that they're still going to use the same actor, but I think they're going to make bigger changes there.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're going to see a complete kind of re-engineering, rejiggering of the whole concept. I think they'll keep some things, but I think you're absolutely right. This is an opportunity to do a top-to-bottom retcon of it and kind of look at it and change the property significantly.
Yeah, I don't foresee them changing the main cast, though. Like, I have a feeling they'll keep... If they keep Charlie Cox and they keep, like... I think they'll keep across the board probably the main cast.
Yeah, I think so too. I think of the successful ones, they're going to keep them. So they're going to keep everyone from Daredevil. They're going to keep the guy from the Punisher. His name escapes me right now. And other than that, it's going to be a complete wipeout. Is what I think.
Yeah, and then Jorge Burgos came in with a $2 super chat. Says not the same. Remember Dave Chappelle? I think he's referring to the whole Netflix business. The thing with Dave Chappelle, though, is they had a reason to keep Dave happy. They didn't have a reason to keep Disney happy, if that's what you're referring to, Jorge. Otherwise, you'll have to refresh our memory on what you mean there in the chat. You don't necessarily have to send in another super chat. Just add us and let us know if that's what you meant or not. Other than that, are we caught up, Andre, on super chats? That's all the farther I can go.
I'm going to do a quick check.
That's all the farther I can go. So,
we missed one from Alex Acera. Who says, late, but will they keep Cox and company or recast like with Ali as Blade? that's exactly what we were just talking about. I think they're going to keep everyone associated with Daredevil.
I think they'll even keep Jessica Jones and what's his face as Luke Cage too. I think they'll keep all of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, who the hell knows about like Chung?
Secondary casting may be a different story because like Tom and I were talking about before just you got in here. Mahershala Ali, or however you pronounce his name, I apologize. Obviously, he played a bad guy. I think it was in the first season of Luke Cage.
That's right.
And he's Blade now.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to retcon Luke Cage out.
Yeah, all that stuff's good. Like that's what I'm saying. I think that's kind of the grounds where we'll see, like, they're not going to keep any of the continuity. They'll keep all the same actors, but it'll also help them kind of do a dropping point to where it's kind of ambiguous. You don't have to go through the whole,
exactly. That's what I think. That's what I think too. That they're going to do kind of like, okay, you know what happened, and you can pretend that everything on Netflix happened. We're going to use the same actors, but things happen in a slightly different way. And now that you know that, we're just going to go with it in this new continuity.
Like, let's say, for instance, if they do a flashback to something, it'll automatically be like, wait a minute, that's not the way it happened on Netflix, or there's a different actors. But it'll be your way of telling you, yeah, it's the similar thing, but it's different. Kind of like how they didn't have to tell us about Uncle Ben and all that shit with Spider-Man again. We already know. They gave us a couple lines here and there to get, they missed Uncle Ben. We know he was a big part of the whole situation, but we didn't have to see the same story over and over again. And I feel like that's what they'll do, is they'll just drop us in. Like I said, it'll be mostly the same cast. Yeah.
I have the perfect allegory there, or a perfect comparison, whatever you want to call it. Now, completely ignore the quality of the movies, but consider Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance.
Yeah,
both of them starred Nicolas Cage,
right?
But they were not part of the same continuity. Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance was a reboot. Technically, Ghost Rider never happened. Right. But in your own headcanon, you could kind of like pretend that the backstory that's being like told over like 20 seconds was the one in that movie, although it really wasn't. It was a complete reboot, starring. Happened to star the same actor. Of course, none of the movies were any good, but that's neither here nor there.
No, you're right. As an writing exercise, the actor was the continuity, but the writers went ahead and basically paraphrased their own previous film and created a backstory in very kind of shorthand and relied on what they hoped was the glow of the previous one to carry over. And when you're world building like Marvel, what we're talking about, I think that's right. I think you pepper in a few recognizable faces as the leads, but then you start moving in a new direction, and you just kind of build on the goodwill hopefully you've engendered through the other series, where people are like, yeah, I remember he's like that, and I remember this happened to her or whatever, but different things are happening. It's populated with different people. I think as a writing exercise, that kind of thing is very difficult sometimes. Like I've been tasked with things like that. Like when I was writing on Be Cool Scooby-Doo, they were like, Scooby-Doo's this regular property. Everybody knows it. But immediately we're like, well, what could we do new with Daphne that she's not boring and she's, eccentric, and we can do these things. And building on the goodwill of characters you already knew, you could kind of shorthand a way to get them going in a new direction. And if they get writers that really care about it, they'll begin world building, and soon we'll forget where we were. And you'll just go along with the ride. If it's properly done, you go along with the ride, and it's the new reboot, because a lot of things are remixes and resynthesis, and we enjoy them anyway. As long as there's a continuity and the characters don't completely step out of where they need to be, we will go on that journey.
Yeah, just like Christian Garcia says, like Batman Forever. Yes, just like Batman Forever. Well,
I wouldn't say just like, because I was going to say actually. Kind of like? Batman Forever is still technically supposed to be a sequel to the first two Batman films.
Right.
I was going to say the
Yeah,
line's
but
a little more blurred there.
at the same time, though,
It's kind of a
all
reverse.
Batman is suddenly completely changed and everything.
Right. I was going to say it's more like a reverse. It's like you're in the same universe, but you have a different main actor. This is the opposite. You're going to have the same main actors, but it'll be technically a new universe.
Yeah. I will argue that Batman Forever is not the same universe as Batman and Batman
It is, though,
Returns,
technically,
so that's me.
because you got 100% of the other actors. But
say so.
And not only that, have you ever read the original script, though, Andre? Like, there's a few things that do allude to. Well, not only that, there's lines still left in the movie that allude to the other films.
Yeah, I know. That's how it was with the Incredible.
And there was
Hulk
that
as
whole
well,
scene, though, that dream sequence that was supposed to have the big bat, and then the whole, like, they had originally had that jury scene in that movie, and Jack Nicholson and all them were supposed to come back for that scene. But they never shot
I got
it.
a better one then. Superman Returns.
There you go. That's technically a little bit better, but that's again still the universe is the same, but the actors are different.
The actors are different. I guess that's interesting. Do you think Batman has been the one that's been the most changed, the most retconned of all the superheroes things? Because as I think of it, that's the one that's had wildly different universes, wildly different actors.
Hulk almost gives him a run for his money.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
because if you even go with the old
but Hulk
TV
has
show
only had like 3 incarnations in live action. You have the TV show, and then you have like the
Batman,
movie,
really.
and then, I have 4 then with Hulk is going to give him a run, but still you have more Batmen than you have Hulks. But I agree that Hulk is a good number 2.
And Superman's close too, but I mean,
I'm going back even to the serial.
Right. That's what I'm. Well, if you want to go that far, even.
And then think of all the iterations that have been cartoon, versions of it or animated versions of it. I was thinking about it. It's like, wow, that shows the durability of the character, that you can change not only the tone and the look or the style, but the entire universe that the character lives in can shift. And it still functions. And there's not a lot of characters you can do that with.
Jason Gallagher has the right one here. There we go.
Before that, Jason Gallagher also sent a super chat saying, "Hope you had a good Thanksgiving, Tom."
I think he means you, Mr. Konkle, because I don't know why he would single me out. So
I did have a surprisingly good one. I defied the governor and actually celebrated it, and I even did some singing. Not really, but I could.
Oh goodness, you should go to jail now.
There was a singing band.
Mr. Wolverine 007, speaking of Super Chat, sends us a $10 one. Thank you so much. Says, off topic, I just noticed last night that Netflix Magic School Bus show had a giant blue tardigrade in a space station. Seemed too close for coincidence with Discovery and Anasa's case. Now, is this like an older episode of Magic School Bus, or is this a newer one? Just add us in the chat there. If not, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Mr. Tickle Trunk then also sends in a Canadian $5. Daredevil might get cheaper actors. Depp is losing work, but I think his current situation is a convenient excuse to get rid of such high-paid actor. There is that aspect, but I think we've had this conversation before, and I know Tom will probably chime in on this a little bit, about how basically one of the first things that's going to have to change in this current climate is a lot of the big-named actors are no longer going to be able to take the big paydays that they have been in the past, and that's where a big part of the portions of the budget
I think that's gonna depend very much on the actor. I think that now you're gonna have like a real class change here with like who's on the in and who's on the out.
I agree. And in the case of Depp, of course, that is a political move, getting rid of him, because the court case really drove kind of distancing from him, and you're seeing that kind of thing happen. I do think the price tag on actors right now, they used to do a thing, I don't know how familiar, the TVQ used to be something that was the value of an actor on television. Of course, that doesn't really translate to streaming. But another thing I used to do producing movies is you would have a list of actors that were quote unquote worth something in the marketplace. They would be worth something in different territories. You could say, oh, I've got so-and-so who's worth something in Russia. I can take this to Norway and he's huge. Well, those lists now have completely thrown out the door because as streaming services are either not available worldwide or they are available worldwide, we still don't know what value the actor actually is to the show. Like, is it the show concept that's bringing people in? In the case of Marvel shows, do we really tune in for the character or we tune in for the actor? It's hard to say. I think this does create a level.
I think I know the answer to that, though.
Yeah,
Without to interrupt you, I think it's no, and I think that Hollywood did that on purpose because I really feel like the age of the movie star is dead. Like they have basically killed it on purpose. Like to them now, the movie star is the concept, is the franchise, is the mask, is the James Bond, the superhero, the what have you, to where they can continually regurgitate it without having to worry about the same nonsense. Like they don't want to get wrapped up in Robert Downey Jr.'s all the time.
Right. And I think also it's a cultural change. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I remember when I was a kid, you could listen in line at the movie theater. And when people were buying tickets, they'd be like, give me tickets to the new Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It didn't matter what the movie was. They would go see it because he was in it. Now we buy tickets based on the title of the movie or the idea of the movie. And that's a huge shift within 30 years from being like, it's the new Tom Cruise thing to, well, I'll see him in, Mission Impossible, but I won't necessarily go see him in The Mummy, not just because.
Or something that you don't know is a
yeah. It's like when I was growing up as a kid, it's like if you knew Harrison Ford picked a movie to do, you knew it would probably be decent.
Right.
You knew The Fugitive was going to be good, so you'd be like, I'm going to go see that new Harrison Ford movie, The Fugitive. Now, I think it's very much what's the concept and who happens to be in it.
Now, The Fugitive itself is the concept, not Harrison Ford, because The Fugitive was already a franchise. And that bounces off kind of both what you guys are saying here, Andre. And I don't think you're wrong, Andre, per se. But again, I think it'll be more of a case-by-case basis, like you're saying. And I think the deal will have more to do with either it's on the back end with however much they can come up with from selling the film to Netflix or Hulu or whoever, or if it's a deal that's already prepaid for, like say like Beverly Hills Cop 4 and 5. Like if, I'm sure Eddie Murphy got a pretty nice payday for Beverly Hills Cop 4 and he will for Beverly Hills Cop 5. But if you're talking about, something that's like a superhero movie or something like that, that's not dependent on the star, right, I don't think you're going to see the big paydays anymore.
I agree. And I agree as a jobbing actor. I mean, my day job is acting, and I know the game in the 80s and 90s was for your agent to see how much money they could get you. And that was really the benchmark of how you were doing. So, hey, can you get me $1 million for this or that? Not that I ever did. But as a jobbing actor who does that, I actually think that you'll see a leveling of price. And I think that's reasonable. You can't sustain paying Daniel Craig, $17 million up front for a Bond movie if the Bond movie is going direct to streaming. You're not going to sustain that. And Bond is what's being sold, not Daniel Craig. I think the character lives on beyond the actor in very few cases. Last night I watched, just for fun with my parents, I watched Last Crusade, sort of thinking of Sean Connery and I love the original Indiana Jones trilogy, and it's like that trilogy was star driven at that point, but it also itself was the star. You watched an Indiana Jones movie that happened to have those guys in it, and those guys built a lot of great franchises, Bond, Han Solo, all these different ones. Well, the world has completely changed now. And it'll be very interesting to see if it becomes like television. Something my agent used to tell me is like television didn't need stars. They made stars. Nobody on Friends was really a star. They became stars. Nobody on Cheers, all that kind of thing. So you might start seeing movie level things that elevate and make stars rather than being driven by stars from the very beginning.
Or it was a falling star.
Yeah, or falling star, or somebody who gets another chance, Tarantino style. They find the right project and they're in it. But it is a Wild West show out here. We really don't know what's going on or what. I'm putting together lists right now, things called pitch books, which is pitching films, and you suggest people, and I will get wildly differing bids as to what people are worth from sales agents. They'll be like, oh yeah, if you can get this guy, we can get you this much, or she's not worth anything in this territory. I'm like, this is one of the top stars in the world. It's like, yeah, but in streaming, not worth anything. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that does kind of level the playing field in some ways, and other ways it doesn't. But speaking of weird,
I don't think it levels the playing field at
no,
all.
not
On the
really.
contrary, it does nothing to level the playing field. What it does is that, yeah, it levels the playing field in that it creates two different playing fields. It creates one playing field for the ins, and it creates a completely different playing field for the outs.
For the outs.
That's and then you have like those that used to be somewhere in between that did fairly decent, that are just going to go way down into the outs. People like Millennium, Lionsgate. There's not any room for them in the establishment, so they're going to go right down there with indies.
Yeah, they're going to end up on Tubi TV and places like that. You're right. I think that's when I say that I should clarify. It levels the playing field for.
I was going to say, but yeah, I jumped back on it too. But no, but I wanted to jump into something here. I know you had another topic you wanted to touch on, Andre, but this is something that I thought was funny because we just talked about Star Trek the other day. Can't get away from it, of course. And Geekosity has a scoop, and we're going to touch on that in a moment. But this was something I saw. I sent you this morning, Andre, and I couldn't believe it when I saw this. Patrick Stewart seems to think they're going to be able to start shooting season 2 in January.
Oh, good luck with that.
That's what I was thinking, too. Again, like, for some reason, though, this news always seems to follow what appears to be some bad news they're trying to bury. And I think us noticing that, season 4 of Discovery kind of disappeared from IATSE, and we had heard that they hadn't filmed anything yet.
You know what I've heard?
What was that?
I've heard that the filming that has been labeled as a season. I don't know if this is accurate.
Yeah, I heard a similar thing from somebody else.
But what I've heard is that the filming that was done for allegedly season 4 was in
3.
reality pickups for season 3.
That's kind of one thing I heard from another person too. It might even been the same person.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of being labeled one, just like, hey, things are moving, stuff's happening, things are going on, when in fact it's just second unit.
And then this was at the top of Geekosity this morning about CBS considering Deep Space Nine revival. It's dated for October 16th.
Yeah.
But this just continues to go along with everything we keep hearing out of CBS, and I'm just curious, what is going on over there? Do we really think that Picard season 2 is really going forward in January? I mean, I find that highly unlikely.
I would be very surprised. And there's certainly been nothing to bear out the success of the first one to have it be on the fast track. Plus, with the problem that has no name, I can only imagine the nightmare of logistics of getting 80-year-old Picard into various scenes and
insured.
Yeah, because even Kurtzman
is going to ensure that production. Unless I can only think of like one way that season 2 can happen, and that's that they do like 1 week of filming with Patrick Stewart up front. Yeah. And they say, look, here's every single scene that he is in. We've already filmed them, so if he croaks tomorrow, we still have that footage. Now give us money and give us insurance so we can film everyone else around him.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And actually, I can see someone proffering that. And I mean, frankly, they've killed him essentially already.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, I just saw someone saying in the chat, it's like, yeah, more Robo Picard.
Yeah, more Robo. Poor guy. It's like, it is sad. The last chapter of a lot of people's lives is often the saddest because you see them going back and trying to capture past glory and its pale imitations of what they have. He had such a great legacy with his work. It would be a shame that this is the last thing he leaves behind, because I think, probably his instincts and faculties are not as sharp, and he's listening to a lot of other people, but he's being manipulated. He's the Joe Biden of Star Trek. He's being manipulated by all these other interest groups, and they're using his name. There you go. He's the Joe Biden of Star Trek.
And Kurtzman even said it in one of his latter interviews here recently, where he was like, yeah, we're having issues getting insurance. It's like, here's where I want that fucking clip I was talking about yesterday, Andre, from Hateful Eight, when Walton Goggins is like, I fucking knew it.
Walton Goggins, I think he may be my favorite actor.
He's a great.
Because,
I don't know about
yeah,
favorite, but he's great. Yeah.
Have you seen him in Fat Man?
No, I
I
want to
haven't
see
seen
that.
that man
I'm
yet.
hoping to
Oh
watch
my
it this
God,
weekend.
You have to watch Fat Man. And Walter Goggins is next level. He belongs in a Coen Brothers movie. He is
Yeah.
next level good.
Yeah, that's like what I mean. I'm a fan of him as an actor. And by
Yeah.
that, I mean is that there's not a single movie that he is in that is on anywhere on my top 10 list of all time or anything. But he has such charisma. He is so awesome. He gets so into every single role so that the movie that he is in could be a shit movie. But just because he's in it, he elevates with his presence.
Yes, he brings a credibility and he means it. What he's doing, he means it. My friend Peyton Reed used him in the Ant-Man film, and he just next level immersed. He's immersed in his pro. If he's doing the silliest thing in the world, he is doing it 110%.
Well, and script will back me up on this. I've said this before about character actors and actors who I know like get bigger or become, actors like him, like we're talking about right now. I remember noticing him way back in Major League, back to the minors.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this kid he's got it, whatever it is. Same thing when I saw like Jack Black, Will Smith, certain other people in the past. And I'm like, yeah, sooner or later, they've got it. Johnny Depp was another one way back in the day that I said, oh yeah, someday he's going to be a big star,
He had that quality.
Exactly. Yeah. And I knew it then. It's like, yeah, he's got it. Whatever it is, he's got it. And yeah.
Well, I tell you, if you want to support independent film and Walter's work, Fat Man is worth a look. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So everyone, go check out Fat Man and support the brilliant actor Walton Goggins.
I still got to watch your movie yet, though, Tom. I don't get a chance to watch anything, man. I've been wanting to.
They rolled it from it's off of Kings of Horror, and now it's going to be out on all the regular platforms on the 9th of December. We did kind of a rollout for a week or two on AVOD, which had commercials, but now it's going to roll out in other things. It's Noise in the Middle. And then if you haven't seen Trouble Is My Business,
I got to see that too.
Yeah. Vernon is fantastic. Vernon's one of those guys. He's like Walter. He just throws himself in, no matter the quality of the movie. He means it, and he has incredible credibility as both an actor and a person, and he brings it to whatever he does. He plays the villain in my film, in Trouble, and he's terrific in it.
He's the same kind of like he has the same like energy and commitment level to Walton Goggins. And you know who both of them remind me a little bit of, like my undisputed favorite actor of or one of them at least. So yeah, it's like so awesome with actors that have this immense energy and presence and charisma and everything, like Klaus Kinski. That's Klaus Kinski-ish.
Klaus Kinski can turn his head from a bar and look at you, and there's an entire novel written in his face.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
I like that.
Yeah, because I here's like the thing that the reason, like the best work that both Klaus Kinski and Werner Herzog ever did was together. And I remember I saw like a clip from the movie My Best Fiend, Mein Liebster Fiend. I don't remember the German title exactly, but anyway, My Best Fiend, where he said how he discovered him. He saw like this old movie where he's like where Kinski is playing like a soldier or something, and it's like a scene where he's asleep on the table, and then he wakes up, and it was that look when he went from asleep to wake up, and the way that he acted that.
Yes,
that's when the Herzog said, him. I have to work with him. That's the best acting he's ever seen. Was not any drama or anything, just waking up.
Yeah,
but he did that with such complete and utter believability.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's something that we do as actors, and I look for it when I'm casting or as a director, is Paul Newman years ago said that great acting was thinking loudly. And what he means by thinking loudly is you can look at someone. They don't have to do much, but you can look at them and you know what they're feeling. They make you feel something, and they have volumes behind them that they bring as a person, but also as the character. So you can do the simplest of actions. And he gave an example. He said, thinking loudly was this: I had 10 seconds to do a piece of action, and the director said, do it. And it felt a little long. So Paul Newman simply, as an actor, thought loudly about what he was doing. You could read it in his face. Well, he did the next take after the director said, yeah, do it faster. He did the next take thinking loudly, and the director, that's it. That was fast. That was good. He went back and they timed it. It was 5 seconds longer than the previous take. But because the actor was so interesting in what he was doing and what he was thinking, and you're kind of reading his face, it felt shorter. It felt faster. And the very best actors you want to spend time with because they are thinking loudly. You can look at Walter's face or Klaus's face and you know there's all these things going on behind it that make it interesting. It's why we love movies.
Indeed. So yeah, I just love seeing him in movies, and Fat Man, yeah, that just jumped a little, all that much higher up on my list.
Higher on the list. Thank you, Amsterdam. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, where were we? We just got caught up on the Walton Goggins train and how awesome he is.
And acting in general, let's face it, one of the reasons that everyone is fans here on Midnight Edge is the actors. That drives the stories that we love. And when we find someone interesting, we want to follow them. We wonder what made people stars before, or what makes us interested in someone being in something. When we say, oh, is so-and-so's going to be this? Well, we wonder what they bring to it, what their persona is, how interesting. The fact that Klaus waking up is more interesting than 90% of the other actors is what makes it magical.
Or what made that movie memorable.
Exactly. We remember those little moments more than anything. That's how it made us feel, how you wondered what they were thinking while they were doing it, or how you felt like you knew it felt like you were mind reading. The best actors to me are ones where, as you're watching them, you feel like you're reading their mind.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's why I love acting.
Yeah. And you are, of course, a great actor too. I don't mean to take anything away from that by talking about Walton Goggins, but Goggins, it's that next level. He's that next level good, just like Klaus Kinski. He's like one of the really underrated but all-time greats. So like on a Mount Rushmore of best actors of all time, Walton Goggins deserves a place.
I would have to agree. He really does bring things. It would be interesting sometime to have a conversation about looking at the genre films we love. Who were the little anchors? Who are the people that were like, oh yeah, this guy or her or this or that? Find all the people that have been a through line and brought something to a production that you just never forget. Like, I remember the first time I saw Bill Paxton and I thought, this guy's great. And then he was the memorable guy in Aliens. He always would have like a little part in, True Lies or Simple Plan, or we remember him in that the Tom Cruise Edge of Tomorrow as the sergeant. He always brought these little grace notes and things to his character. He was just solid. He was just solid as a person and solid as an actor.
Goggins is even memorable in the next Karate Kid, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And Predators.
He's just one of those guys, like Andre was saying, he belongs on the Mount Rushmore of great character actors. Brian Dennehy, remember him? I mean, he was...
Yes, love
Brian Dennehy, like, he took First Blood to next level. Right. He could sit and drive in a car with Sylvester Stallone and smile and be friendly, and you could think, this guy's going to freaking kill you. It's just, he was that good. It's when amazing
people start fucking around with the law. That's when all hell breaks loose.
Exactly. Those are the people that make the movies that we love even better.
Well, I wasn't feeling too well this last week, and in one of my days just kind of crawled up watching a little bit of TV, getting caught up on things. Should have should have been watching a while ago, possibly. But one of the things I've already seen, but I saw the extended version of Hateful Eight, and I was just like, oh my god, that just reminded me of like how much I wanted to get that little clip and all that stuff because just he's amazing in that. And again, like I never seen the extended cut, and I was glad I finally got a chance to watch it all.
Yeah, it's great to spend time with him. One thing we didn't mention, and I do think it's worth mentioning, is we were talking about the Disney launch of the platform. Do you both believe that Black Widow will magically become the figurehead of the new next Disney launch? Do you think it's going to end up on a streaming service pretty soon?
Hell yes. But Tom, you go first. And
I wonder because they've been pretty adamant, or I wouldn't say adamant, but it's like been the one thing that's left out of a lot of conversations.
No, they've been disingenuous. That's what they've been.
Yeah, that's a better word for it.
Yeah, they have not been adamant at all. They've been outright disingenuous.
Yeah.
They were like, no, we're committed to theaters. And behind closed doors, they're like, let's kill them. Let's kill them and get rid of them once and for all.
Yeah.
I have no faith whatsoever that Black Widow is actually going to theaters. Mr. Konkle, I believe you are entirely right. I think that come December 10th, I could be wrong, but come December 10th, I think that it's going to be like that rumor brought forward by I think it was Pirates and Princesses that said that Black Widow is going to go there. It's going to be the launch title. I think that's absolutely the right thing. Because here's the thing, that what does Disney have that is new, that's going to bring in loads of people? That probably could go on Disney Plus, but they haven't really got anything like R-rated for a kind of like Disney 18 plus. But Black Widow is just over that edge, where it actually would fit on a Disney.
I can hear the PR release now. I can hear it. Like, in the spirit of Wonder Woman, we're also bringing female power from Marvel for the new Disney thing. I could just hear it as being the masthead. It's going to be the launch of that service. And frankly, I haven't seen the movie. I reserve judgment on it. But it seems like the scale of the film would fit to a streaming service. I'm not sure how much of an
I think they spent a pretty penny on it. Not nearly as much as some of the other bigger films, I don't think. But that's the only thing. And the other thing is, I mean, again, it could be, I know it's supposed to be a little bit harder PG-13 than the other films were. Yeah. So it could very well fit with something like an 18 plus kind of spin-off channel or add-on or whatever you want to call it to Disney Plus. But I don't know. I mean, I would think that they would want to keep all their PG-13 Marvel stuff together. But then again, Andre could be right in a sense, like this could be a way to launch that idea. This could be a place for them to get, Deadpool and Deadpool 2 and other things up there right away. Logan.
I don't think that they're even going to look at the ratings at all. They're going to look at what is thematically more mature.
Again, that's what I was saying. Yeah,
isn't.
That's like, what I was saying. Yeah,
you have like Netflix stuff that technically probably could go on Disney Plus. Like, for instance, say not all of Daredevil. You have like a couple of episodes which are definitely rated R, but most of Daredevil probably could be on Disney Plus. I don't think it's going to be. I think that's something that they're
Jessica
going
Jones
to.
Couldn't. No way.
No, Jessica Jones couldn't. But like, for instance, most of what's the stupid one?
Punisher probably couldn't either.
Now I'm talking about the stupid one, the crap one. I forget the name even.
Oh, like you mean
Iron Fist?
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist.
That definitely should go on Disney Plus, but it's not going to. If anything,
I didn't even watch that.
That too. I didn't even see season 2 of it. I mean, I suffered through season 1. It started okay, and then it got really bad. And oh my god, the actor!
I lost interest.
I watched like 1 or 2 episodes. I still got to watch Punisher yet. I got to finish watching Daredevil, but otherwise I gave up on the rest.
I have to talk about an actor killing. We were talking about how important an actor is, and an actor can also kill a show.
Yeah.
That in that case, I found him to be very boring to watch.
I can't even begin to express my disappointment with that show. Of course, I blame the showrunner. This was the same showrunner that destroyed Inhumans.
Jeff Loeb?
No,
not Jeff Loeb.
Jeff Loeb is the one who hired him. So Jeff Loeb is ultimately the one to bet, because he was the one who who hired this incompetent to serve as showrunner. I forget his name right now. I know it really well. I can't stand him. He's like he's the Uwe Boll of high budget TV. He's the same guy that destroyed Dexter in the final season.
Oh yeah, and I can't think of his name now either.
Yeah,
I call it falling upward. He's falling upward. He from one mistake to the next, he falls upward.
Yeah, and I'll like that Dexter finale that traumatized me because it was just so bad fan fiction.
Yeah. Mr. Tickletron says that Tom is half the volume of us. I think it's because he's at his folks right now.
Am I half the volume?
You are. I think you're on your phone or something like that. Maybe. Sometimes you're a little louder, but.
Any better? Is this sounding any better? Volume is all the way up. Testing
it goes
one.
In and out. Check and see if maybe your automatic volume stuff is on and crap like that.
Yeah, I think the automatic is on. I'll turn it off.
Yeah, that might help.
We'll try that.
That's probably it. It'll automatically turn you down.
There we go. Is that a little bit better?
Oh, yeah. Better. Oh, night and day difference.
Yeah, because that's kind of why we've been accidentally talking over you a little bit because it's hard to hear you. But
I'm sorry about that. I'm traveling.
No. Bill Gates should be the one apologizing.
Get Bill Gates in here. You said 1998 was going to be faster.
They're just muting him. He's subversive thought. I'm being censored.
Yeah.
Fucking Bill Gates.
But you're right.
Truer words were never spoken, but yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. The showrunner can really kill something, and in his case, he keeps killing thing after thing after thing, and it's amazing. He must have a hell of an agent.
Yeah, well, I hope that he failed, so that the double whammy of Inhumans and Iron Fist is so bad that he is gone. Put him in a writer room and have him one of staff writers, and I'm sure he's going to be fine. But but as a showrunner, my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah,
I can't. Scott Buck, I think it was.
That's what it is. Yeah. I was just looking it up. Scott Buck. I just got it.
Scott Buck. That's right.
Yep.
Uncle Buck. Yeah.
Yeah.
The carcasses of many a show left behind.
Yeah, but I agree.
You might as well give Uncle Buck the show. He'd be better off.
But Jeff Loeb is the big real problem there because he was the guy who hired Scott Buck to begin with. And after Dexter, no one should hire Scott Buck for anything other than staff writer.
Yeah. It's again falling upward. That's the problem. Go from one disaster to the next.
Yeah, that's a term we've used ourselves, actually. Yeah. Failing upward is, similar, I should say. Yeah. Failing upward is our version. But
failing upward, I'm falling upward. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but again, you have to be over a certain threshold to be able to do that. That's like, you have to be in with the right crowd, and then you can fail upwards. Yes. If you're not and you fail, then you're just going to fail down and out.
Yeah. No, that's I have lived in that world a long time, and yes, there's some people that you just can do no wrong. It's like the resume is littered with shows they've killed and things they've destroyed, but this business is made on your contacts and your alliances and who's championing you, and you get chance after chance, whereas some people you get one chance, and if you fail, you're out. So that used to be the mandate for actors. That would come into the business. You would have someone who was going to be the next big thing, and the agent would tell them, this is a true story. They would tell them, you do 2 that we tell you to do. You can do 1 that you want to do. And if all 3 of them don't make a certain level of success, you're out, which is why you'll see some actors come out in a blaze of glory with these films. And if they don't take off, they just disappear. They lose their
I have a star example of that. I have to Google his name because I don't even. I remember now. Taylor Kitsch.
Yes, Taylor Kitsch.
Yeah, he had that moment.
Yes.
He was John Carter, a role he was completely miscast in.
That's
he had
right.
that Battleship movie, and then he starred in another thing as well that he also headlined that also flopped. So he there was one summer.
Was it the Oliver Stone film? It was that really strange Oliver Stone film where he was a drug dealer or something, and that he did that film, and he did Battleship, and he did John Carter, and they said, that's it, you're out, you're done.
Yeah.
He did the Wolverine one too, didn't he?
Yeah, but again, he wasn't a problem in that one.
No, but he was supposed to get that spin-off though that they ended up switching over to what's his face.
Yeah, he had a rough time.
That also never happened.
Yeah, but it happens all the time. I know it happened with Clive Owen when he first started. He was like, you do two, and then you do one you want to do, and if it doesn't perform, if you don't get a Children of Men or something happening, you're out.
See, I thought he should have been cast as fucking Johnny Cash instead of Joaquin Phoenix. I know that would have been popular, but I think he looks more like him.
He does.
I agree.
Yeah.
But that's like the thing, because I don't think that anyone went out to cast him in, for instance, John Carter. I think that was something that the agency basically decided between themselves that okay, now our director, who's repped by us, he has this movie. Now, who do we have in our stable that we're going to make a star? Okay, this guy. So we're going to pair him with this and with this.
That is exactly what happens.
And then they pair him with movies that he's completely unfit for, and movies that suck to high heavens anyway, and then they blame him afterwards.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happens. It's the rule of the three. You get two chances and one that you think you want to do, and then if you don't, you lose the support. And that's how people get elevated to a role where it's like, how did this person end up in this place? And you'll see someone take off and then completely disappear, or someone who you're like, why are they a star? Like, why do they keep getting chances? They've been in failed project after failed project, but they just keep going.
Yeah. Sander Hammerslag says Savages was the Stone movie.
Yes, that's right. Savages.
I didn't even see it.
No one did. No one did. But that was going to be another one of his big films, and it was just this little meandering kind of disaster. I had a friend that was on that film, acted in that film, and again, he didn't acquire the discipline that he needed or build an audience to do it. The studio or the agent decided, well, together, this is our stable. As you said, we're going to make you a star, and if it doesn't work, you're gone.
I see we have a random Razor Fist in the chat. Hello, sir. Somebody we've been trying to reschedule for the show for some time. How you doing? I just sent you the link if you're free. If you want to come in and talk a little Daredevil quick, we might have a few minutes yet. But we definitely need to schedule you for a proper show for sure.
Absolutely, and we can, as soon as we know more about Daredevil, of course, we're going to have a Daredevil discussion with you. But again, if you're free, jump on.
Come hop on in.
Yeah. We knew you and Andre would have plenty to talk about, so we're definitely hoping to reschedule that soon. Either way, so
absolutely. And going back to what we were saying, the Ghost DS says it's like saying Dredd was not good because it didn't get a good box office record. I never saw it hit the movie theaters, and I watched TV a lot back then. Yeah, okay. Dredd. Do not even get me started on how badly Lionsgate botched the marketing for that completely. And the same thing with the Conan 2011 movie. Of course, that movie was botched in its own right, but it was absolutely botched by Lionsgate Films' marketing department, which was the single worst marketing department in town at that time. So they killed everything. Every single franchise or potential franchise, they killed. And that was because they had this shit market. I mean, just look at the trailer for Dredd. It was one trailer, and it was god-awful.
It was awful. And one thing that does happen quite a lot at a company like Lionsgate is the turnover, too. You'll see one regime in for a few months, then the next regime, and the next regime, in order to prove their competence and their relevance, abandons the film. It takes a year to make a movie and have it come out. So by the time Dredd came out, the people that were charged to sell Dredd and to make people aware of Dredd probably weren't there anymore. And the new regime was like, no, we're developing our new properties. Let this one die to prove that you were right to fire the other people. And that does happen quite a bit.
Yeah. And that especially happened in Lionsgate. And I can tell you the name even.
This movie too.
Punisher Warzone, that was a victim of that. That was Joe Drake.
Yep,
that was Joe Drake, and he went. I don't remember the guy he replaced was Peter something. I forgot his name.
Shit.
But anyway, this Peter something, he set up a whole bunch of franchise movies, and Joe Drake went in and he killed all of them. He was the one who killed Punisher Warzone by moving it from its original August release date to
Peter Levin. Is that who you're thinking of?
December.
Yeah.
And we have Razor Fist. Welcome.
Welcome, sir.
Hey guys, how's it going?
How are you?
All
It's
right,
nice to
so I
meet
had to unmute my mic there. I had a boomer moment. By the way, I loved Trouble Is My Business. I watched it randomly on Amazon one day.
Oh, thank you, man. I
Really?
appreciate it. It was my little love letter to the B movies of the 40s.
Wasn't it set in Arizona even?
It was not set. It was set in L.A. It was not set in Arizona.
I thought the
but
beginning of it was. I'm trying to think if I'm thinking of something else. At the beginning, he like wakes up in a hotel room and like I can't remember. Anyway,
yeah.
it's been a while.
I'm glad you liked it. I
Yes, I
appreciate
did.
you watching it. Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I do a series called the Film Noir Archives about film noir. So
Oh, great. Yeah,
I'm
there's
all
tributes
kinds of
to that movie, and Out of the Past is part of something that I drew from.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of DNA from a lot of great noir films. I'm a huge fan of noir because I love the attitude and the style.
Right. Same here. I absolutely love it. So yeah, you guys, I assume you guys already popped your load on Daredevil.
Well,
Yeah,
we talked a little bit
since
about
you're,
it,
but since you're here,
yeah.
so basically on Sunday, the production rights to Daredevil will return to Marvel. That is when Marvel technically can begin doing something. So like Daredevil has been on ice, so it's been illegal for Marvel to even do something, to have a meeting, at least one that's on the books. And they can't develop something again on the books. Who the hell knows what they may have done behind closed doors or on their free time that haven't been logged. But yeah, on Sunday, production rights return. That's when development can begin on the next Daredevil iteration. What do you feel about that? And what do you think they're going to do?
I think first off, you guys kind of, the title says, does anybody care? I mean, first off, yeah, lots of people care. But second off, I think more people would probably care if Daredevil, sadly, was this big organic success that suddenly happened. And then they had like a 500-pound fat woman like smother it for the next 5 years. Basically, it was saddled with this great big Defenders albatross the entire time. So you had Daredevil season 1, and then you didn't have to wait super long, although maybe a little too long for a TV series, for season 2. And even by then, you had already lost some viewers, but people were still overall very, very interested. Then, let's take a year and a half break, or what was it? Maybe even 2
Almost
years.
2.
Yeah, let's take a 2-year break and wait until season 3 comes out. We'll have a totally new showrunner. It won't even look like the same show because we've got a totally new production team. We got totally different writers. We got pretty much the only thing that's the same is the cast, and they don't even look the same because they've all moved on to do movies because they got to pay the rent.
That's
for
right.
Christ's sake.
They got to work. Yeah.
So they got different haircuts and whatever. It's like, Jesus Christ! If I were watching this whole thing in sequence, it'd be, you end season 2,
what happened?
Yes, season 3, everybody's dressing different. Foggy lost like 90 pounds. It's like, whoa, he discovered Nutrisystem in 2 weeks. What happened here? So, but I think that's fundamentally, that was the problem, was everything was shackled to that Defenders. And this goes for all the shows, by the way, but mostly Daredevil, because that was the first big hit, and it was an organic hit. And if you had just kept following that up, I think what we learned really was you don't plan spinoffs before you have a franchise that necessitates spinoffs.
That warrants a spinoff. What?
Yes, I think Universal learned that with the monster movies.
Yeah, before they even had a film franchise.
Well, that's what happens when you get Kurtzman involved with anything.
Yeah,
I have to agree that the Defenders was a complete and total albatross. It weighed everything down, and when we finally got to the miniseries, it was crap, wasn't it? It was mixing together all of these other, like, say for instance that you liked Daredevil, or you didn't care about Daredevil. Maybe you liked Luke Cage. Maybe you liked Jessica Jones.
Right.
And in the figments of Jeff Loeb's imagination, maybe someone even liked Iron Fist, and you bring all of these people together in a story that no one cares about. Like, the weakest thing about Daredevil to me was all these stupid ninja guys. I was like thinking, what's this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Foot Clan crap?
That's what it's from.
I was just going to say that. Sorry.
I know that's where it's from, but still, you know what? To me, it actually really just annoyed me and hurt me.
Yeah.
That's my statement there. Annoyed Razorfist so much he disappeared. But yeah.
No, I think his mic was glitching out there. He sounded like he was on a worse box.
Sorry about that. Do I
No,
sound
they're
all right
working
now?
now. Working now.
Okay.
I have a question for Razor. As a production person, I have this question. If you were tasked with the move over to Marvel, what would you do with Daredevil to make the best possible use of the character? What would you do with the show?
You have to understand first. I think what you would do is probably what the plan sounded like it was going to be from the beginning, where you have a theme, and basically your theme for that season is a popular graphic novel or arc in the series, in the Daredevil series. So season 1 was starting out the kind of the theme, but it wound up being such a loose theme that it barely resembled it. Was The Man Without Fear, the old Frank Miller graphic novel with John Romita Jr. Season 2 was kind of a mix of things. It was sort of the death of Elektra, but then it was also Daredevil v Punisher from Punisher Marvel Knights. If it feels like season 2 is the Punisher show, that's because they literally adapted a Punisher comic instead of a Daredevil comic. Thanks, fuckwits. I appreciate that in my Daredevil show. And then season 3,
I appreciated that. But
yeah, no, it's all right to be wrong. In season 3, they adapted. They adapted. What was it? Oh, kind of a loose adaptation of Born Again. Kind of a loose again, they were all loose adaptations, and you kind of didn't get into the nitty-gritty of any of those stories by doing that. I'm not saying I would adhere closer to the source material necessarily, but I would probably have had the theme be a little bit more rigid so that it didn't feel like it was going down these rabbit holes where all of a sudden we're watching Karen in upstate Vermont doing blow in the middle of nowhere and hitting somebody with her car. And it feels like a total non sequitur. So that's probably what I would do, is tighten up the theme first off. Whatever the hell they did to the budget between seasons 2 and 3, I'd go ahead and put the nix on that, because you have to understand you are basically relaunching the show. I remember when Kevin Smith was reporting early on before Daredevil came out, he was reporting like the budgetary figures for season 1. And it was astronomical. It was not that far from a Marvel film. And it was because Netflix and Marvel wanted it to work. They wanted it to be good. And you could tell between seasons, they dropped the budget. I think that's really what happened with season 2. You complained about the ninjas. And I'll agree with the complaint to a point. I think the problem was they never felt like Legion. Actually, the problem, strangely enough, was that they never quite felt like the Foot Clan. They should have felt like they were everywhere and the rooftops were swarming with them and whatever.
That's
but you get to the end.
Yeah.
They weren't a tonal fit with the rest of the series.
The Hand is basically the adult version of the Foot Clan.
Yeah, I know, and it failed at that. I think the execution was wrong.
Or, well, the other way around, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's the other way around. The Foot, of course,
is the younger version
ripped
of the
off
Hand.
from the Hand.
Yes,
yeah, it was a big parody. And Stick is
exactly.
Yeah, Stick and Splinter. Obviously, there's a relationship there, and whatever. The ooze that hit Daredevil in the eyes is the ooze that transformed the turtles. So now you know. But anyways.
Actually, I have a thing for that.
But the problem is, I agree. The execution to a degree was off. They suddenly did this weird blood bag vampire thing in the middle of season 2. I love the ninjas, by the way. I much rather would have had more of that than the Punisher. And I think that's actually the problem. Strangely enough, you're asking for less ninjas, but what you needed was actually more in order to flesh them out so they could be an actual threat. And the problem was we sat there in a graveyard watching Punisher cry for 5 episodes instead of fleshing them out and making them a legitimate threat. And some of that happened to Elektra too, who I thought was excellent. As I thought she was really good as Elektra. Actually, a lot of people have complaints. It's okay to be wrong, but the problem again was not fleshed out really, and that's because everything kind of took a backseat. It was like the writers halfway through the series got like a 15-foot stiffy for Punisher, and kind of pushed all the stuff that the season was supposed to be about onto the back burner. And it wound up making that stuff seem like it didn't belong there instead of the other way around.
I agree. I agree with that, because I didn't have a problem with the hand in the first season. It was in the second season I started getting the issues, because to me, the Punisher was the best part of season 2. But that's because that's obviously what they cared about.
Yeah,
And wanted to get right. So I think that the absolute best leaves of the Punisher on Netflix, more so than in his own than in his 2 seasons.
It's true. Daredevil season 2 is a better Punisher season 1 than Punisher season 1.
I hate the Punisher season 1. I can't stand it. And I'm a huge Punisher fan. Like of like all Marvel characters, he's like my top 1 or 2. So I was not entirely pleased with those 2 first seasons, but I was very pleased with Daredevil season 2. To me, that's a great Punisher season 1. Why can't the real Punisher series be like that?
I don't know. And it was funny. That's the whole time you hear about the Punisher. Okay, we're going to have a Punisher TV series. Well, in your mind, you think it evokes images of the comics and I guess certain video game adaptations, and yes, even movies, maybe some starring Dolph Lundgren. Sorry, fuckers, that's an underrated movie. You can blow me.
I agree with that.
You know, visions of him walking the streets in a trench coat, wasting shitbags with a shotgun. Is that not the Punisher to you? That's the Punisher, right? That's what he does. And the only time he does any punishing is in Daredevil season 2. He's in like a diner and he's wasting dirt bags, and like that's the Punisher's Death Wish, guys. It's Death Wish. That's what it is.
I have not seen the new Punisher show on Netflix, but I've always
you really have missed out.
I was gonna say I've always been a fan of the Dolph Lundgren Punisher. That is one I've always stuck up for.
It's a good 80s action movie, but he actually gets on a motorcycle and wastes some assholes on, basically in the back of a motorcycle and in the streets and whatever. And that's more what the Punisher is in the comics. You know what I mean? He's wasting drug dealers and crime lords and so forth. There wasn't much of that. Honestly, the Punisher would have been better received as its own series if it were called Mr. Marine. Like it was literally like a military, like a domestic military politics show, which is really strange.
Yeah, because they said that it was really important to them that they get like the appeal to law enforcement and to military right, which is fine. I have no issue with that. But the problem is that they centered the entire series around that, and then of course you had like this whole bullcrap from the 2004 movie about like the death of his family being related to his own service and conspiracy bullcrap instead of just being a random crime. He was a random victim, and that is what allows him or gives him philosophical justification to go after random criminals. And if his family is targeted because of something he did, then you don't have that, and you mess up the character. And greetings, Robot Shlomo, our own Narrator Supreme.
Narrator Supreme, yeah. How's it going? I feel more like Beef Supreme. It's yeah. So how's it going, everybody?
By the way, we have not formally welcomed Razor Fist to Midnight's Edge. May I introduce Rob and Andre? I don't think you've ever met them before.
Hello, Mr. Fist. How are you?
Hello. We've been on one other.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, you were okay.
And thanks to Windows Update like 2 months ago, I'm a disembodied floating boob. I mean, that's
nice.
Yeah. Well. If it was on somebody else, that'd be,
I am too, but this is my actual face.
Yeah. All I can think now is the Jackie Gleason joke from Smokey and the Bandit 3. Give me the old days where a couple boobs or a couple of dumb guys.
Right.
So anyway, what are we talking about? Daredevil? Daredevil's getting a season.
I think we were complaining about Punisher, but that's fine. It's if you
the Punisher. let me tell you, the Punisher that I'm more associate with the character is the Mike Zeck 86 Mike Zeck, Stephen Grant, Joe Duffy Punisher.
Yeah, the Mike
White
Barron
Gloves.
Punisher is what you mean. He was the writer of those. Mike Barron, he was a great writer. He did some great stories back then.
Yeah. And
I miss White Glove, White Boot Punisher.
Yes.
Very, very much.
Yes.
That's the Mike Barron Punisher. He was the writer of that era.
Yeah.
For that Mike Zeck was the artist for.
Yeah, the hard nosed kind of didn't give a fuck, and he. I remember them walking over that final panel, walking away with the dog that he just like smacked. The dog just like, okay, you're the alpha.
I should probably at this point talk about my former roommate is the biggest Punisher collector in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I mean, this is not an exaggeration. He's got everything. He's got signed copies of the script, and we got the Punisher. He's got the Punisher arcade machine and a bunch of.
Was he ever active in the Global Punisher Army Facebook group and website before that?
He was all over those places, actually. Yeah.
What was his online handle?
He goes by World Greatest Punisher Collector, so he's all over the place. All over.
Okay. That's very self-explanatory.
Yes,
yeah,
very,
so it's not just
very
a clever name,
and it's not bullshit either. He's got everything. So when even he has here, and he's very critical, I find, of a lot of the Punisher adaptations. He was a big fan of Warzone on account of its awesome. But he did say, everybody heaped all this praise on, why am I blanking on his name? Walking Dead guy, John Bernthal. Yeah, everybody heaped all this praise on John Bernthal, and I think he delivered the pathos, I guess, if not the haircut. And yet, my former roommate could not stop talking about how fucking short he was. Like he's like 4 feet tall. And he's fighting Charlie Cox, who is not exactly Andre the Giant. And he Daredevil looks like he looks like a Nord next to him.
Yeah,
he's gonna Fusro die him off the rooftop. It makes no.
Can we all agree that Ray Stevenson was the most comic book accurate Punisher to date?
Ray Steve, the guy who sang the Streak. They call him the Streak. That guy, Ray Steve was the Punisher.
That's Ray Stevens.
Yeah, okay, different guy.
Yeah, no, Ray Stevenson. He's a follow himself.
The Senka swilling retiree crowd appreciated that one.
Yeah, well,
I'm still a bit partial to Lundgren, but yeah.
Well, anyway. But you guys, I mean, so this whole thing about Daredevil, like, and I managed to hear some of it before, and whoever said it was, I think Razorfist said it. He goes, the hand has to be everywhere. The hand has to be, and they're on the rooftops, they're in the street, they're everywhere, in the darkest alleys. The hand has to feel like they're this ubiquitous presence pulling the strings of everything. And they kind of did. They just showed up, faded back in the shadow, showed up, faded back. And like, no. There should be like ninjas jumping all over shit in the background. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's because those are actually some of the first Marvel comics I bought was the Daredevil Elektra storyline by Frank Miller.
Yes,
and those I think I have that one.
And those are still some of the best comics I've ever read.
Yeah, and still some of the best comics ever written or illustrated.
Exactly. That's why they're among the best comics ever written. That's the reason why.
Yeah, but you're right. They're like they need to be. They can't be. They kind of. You had this impression of this giant satanic ninja cult, and you literally had this heart-to-heart, probably one of the worst landed moments in the whole series, and it's in season 2, which is my favorite. And they're sitting there in the hallway, and you know that there's ninjas everywhere. Elektra and Daredevil are they're about to go out onto the roof. And they're like, they know if they go out onto that roof, one or both of them are not going to survive. And they make this pact that they're just going to run. They're just going to like go live it up together and fuck like rabbits for all eternity. And that's going to be their big thing. Beyond the fact that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, it does bring it around full circle for for Matt Murdock, because he's a gash hound, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is literally something people think this was out of character for Matt Murdock. No, this is one of the few in character things for Matt Murdock in the whole series. He literally would just run off with a chick and not fight crime anymore, because he likes pussy that much more. But they're making that pact and whatever. Oh my God, there's just overwhelming. There's an overwhelming ninja presence. They're gonna swarm us all, and then they walk out onto the rooftop, and there's like 12 of them, and it's like, what? did the rest of the ninja clan leave, or? And that's what I was referring to.
Well, they'd have to pay them time and a half on a day off.
That's the thing. Yes.
By the way,
they got good health benefits, though.
Yeah. I don't know if Razorfist would appreciate this, but I still have my official Kathleen Kennedy Leslie Headland action figure. So I mean, I keep coming back to that joke. I'm the only one who likes it. So, but anyway, I digress. But the whole thing is like,
so does that.
Yeah, waka waka. So, but yeah, I mean. You see, like there should have been at least come on. How hard is it to find 100 guys and put them in the ninja costumes?
I don't know. Apparently not too hard, because the Ninja Turtles movie from 1990 had no budget, and they managed to do it in that scene where Raphael gets jumped by the entire population of Japan.
They even have that fat ninja in part 2.
Oh no!
Played by Chris Farley.
Don't forget the mullet ninja guy, the white mullet ninja. Who's like obsessed with the Christmas bulb? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh man, what was that about? What the hell was that about?
But,
yeah, and we work in concealment.
Yes, we work in concealment. I wish you could seal that hairdo, buddy. The hell, fucking Joe Dirt making a cameo.
On talking to microphone, I got backup mic right here.
Yes. But no, like if you're going to handle it, I would say that you need to relaunch it with the proper budget, because it's basically a relaunch at this point. I don't think Charlie Cox has moved on, because the poor guy's going to be typecast. He's an amazing actor. He should be in more things. Mm-hmm. But the really fucked up, I don't know if you guys heard this when the show was initially canceled, but the way that these shows were canceled was some of the skeegiest shit Marvel or Netflix have ever pulled.
Worse than getting a text message in the middle of the night. I mean,
it's pretty bad. Cage, I know Cage, they literally had built the sets and all the actors were under contract and they're literally ready to go on set, and then it's canceled. So people had set time aside and couldn't go do other things.
Yeah, it was basically two kids going F you and grabbing their toys and walking home. Yeah,
all politics and ego and nothing.
Yeah, and Daredevil was almost as bad. I don't know how many people are aware, but Charlie Cox's wife was one of the production people on the show. So it's like a Daredevil, the series is like a family business for the lead actor. So they were all wrapped up in this show and all ready for season 4 or whatever. And then it winds up getting shit canned. I don't know if they had to move after that or whatever, but basically the entire family lost their income all at once.
You know what's the irony? Because basically Netflix canceled it because we're not going to do anything to support you Disney guys now that you're doing Disney Plus. If they had done that, they actually would have kept Daredevil and The Punch and all of them away from Marvel. They couldn't use them, so they would have Marvel product on Netflix. They would keep competitive. They could siphon off of all Marvel marketing. And instead, now, as we see, now they're getting Daredevil back. And over the next few months and next year, they're going to get everything back. They have everything under one roof again. I don't think Netflix did a great decision in canceling everything like that so quickly. I bet they're you know what? If we had like a Daredevil season 4 right now, that would have been really popular. It would have given us loads of traffic, and it would have kept Daredevil away from our corporate enemy, Disney Plus, for another 3-4 years, even if they were to cancel it after season 4. But instead, we could now have a new Daredevil series on Disney Plus, or rather on Disney 18 Plus, if those rumors are true, as early as next year.
It kind of reminds me of when Fox when they passed on a whole bunch of pitches, and eventually they just because they had no idea what to do with it, no long-term thinking on their part. When they finally just the time on the contract ran out, and Daredevil went back to Marvel. Yeah. I mean, this is almost history repeating itself. Like Netflix doesn't know the value.
This is on purpose, though, Rob. This is different. Like that was just them because they made a movie that was a box office dud, and then they didn't know what to do with it because they weren't going to do anything with it, Rob.
I told you, I didn't understand the Daredevils.
And not only that, I guarantee
Tom Rothman here.
I know. Well, not only that, I guarantee you, like Ben Affleck probably would have got a bigger payday for the second one, so the budget would have went up, and all that other stuff. There's no way they were going to make a Daredevil 2.
No. Well, they set it up for Elektra, though. I mean, but at the end.
Well, and Elektra was another bomb, so that solidified there was going to be no Daredevil 2.
Yeah. And by the time the director's cut came out, I think, which is actually good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But by the time that came out, I think it was 2004, and I think Elektra had already come and gone and crapped in our mouths, or it was about to. Here's a funny story about Elektra, actually. People kind of forget how badly it bombed. I used to work at a record store, and it was right next door to a movie theater. And we literally, I would drive past this movie theater every single day to go to work. And you would see the big marquee and, whatever is in theaters. And it said Elektra. And I'm being a massive Daredevil fan. I was like, well, I'll at least give it a whirl. And I literally one day drive into work and I notice, oh, yeah, Elektra's over there. Okay. I pull in and we're literally getting boxes for the new merchandise that's going to go on the walls. And one of them is an Elektra poster now on DVD.
Yeah.
It's in theaters and they're already planning the release to DVD.
Razor Fist, I was working at a video store at the time it came out. And this is a true story. I don't know how many times, I can't count on my hand now, that I remember people would pick it up. They're like, Elektra, what's this? And I'd go, oh, it's a spin-off or sequel of the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck. It's the same character. Oh, and they put it right back on the shelf.
Isn't that Evanescence music video that had superheroes in it? Isn't that?
Yeah, I'm sure many people.
That was like the best part of the movie until the director's cut. Yeah, like that was the only good thing that came out of that. If you can call that good.
Let me tell you. When I saw Daredevil in the theaters, it started out. I said, "Wow, this is actually what I would like to see a Daredevil movie start out as." With the he's on top of the church and he's on the cross. Is that imagery, the satanic imagery juxtaposed with the Christian imagery, and the hero's in trouble, and then it just kind of goes downhill all from there.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Konkle, what did you feel about the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck and the Elektra movie that followed it?
Oh, yeah. I think it was a fail on so many levels. I think it was a movie made by people, first off, you could tell didn't have a love for the character or a deep understanding of why it worked. I think there was some, earnest attempt and professionalism that they tried to put into it, but it was Daredevil in name only. I don't feel like either movie was a success, and I think that was borne out by how we look back on the movies now. It's basically its major accomplishment was putting Jennifer and Ben together to date. That's about it.
And even that didn't last.
And even that didn't last. But yeah,
they had a good run, though.
They had a good run. And here's the thing: those movies were sanitized versions of the concept, and they didn't work for me. Neither of them worked. Elektra less so. I think Rob Bowman directed that one, if I'm not mistaken.
We did get Terrence Stamp as Stick, though.
Yeah, so great casting. Yeah, he's terrific, but I don't feel like the movie didn't make a dent in the universe as far as moving anything forward or being particularly interesting.
You know what? I've never seen it to this date.
Which is funny.
I couldn't be asked.
And it's got it just like Daredevil. It's got a
director's cut. Yeah.
But it only makes it. It only makes it marginally more watchable. It definitely doesn't make it good like the Daredevil director's cut does.
Yeah, I don't think it was a real director's cut though, because here's like the thing that at this time, Tom Rothman had this idea that every Fox movie that was like a blockbuster or genre movie of any kind, they had to have an unrated.
Well, it wasn't just Tom; it was everybody. But
yeah, I know, but Fox were notorious for it, so that they would go and they would reinsert a couple of scenes that weren't even meant to be there, just so that they could sell the movie one more time as something unrated. So like Daredevil was one of the few genuine director's cuts. Most of the other things that were billed as such were the theatrical cut with some random stuff just thrown back in there.
Right.
The director had nothing to do with it.
Because it was genuinely the victim of studio interference. I mean, they should have renamed that cut the Avi Arad doesn't drag his nuts across the director's face edition. It was so obviously interfered with by Arad. In fact, I believe if you watch the interviews for that movie, which I've watched a lot, giant Daredevil fan in case nobody's aware, Avi Arad, literally, there's this beautiful, I mean, it's at least as bad as I think Jar Jar is the key to all this, at least as bad as all this, where Avi Arad was like, I just wanted it to be the best Valentine's Day movie ever.
Oh, trust me, Avi Arad is definitely one of those in the Hall of Fame here at Midnight's Edge. If you've watched any of our videos,
it was beautiful. He was like, I wanted it to be the ultimate teenage date movie. And I was like, really? Like a gritty crime drama? You thought this was going to get the ladies blowing their dudes?
Well, you could argue he was a little ahead of his time, because then look at, 10 years ahead that Deadpool did for Valentine's Day, but
but that didn't have him, and it did it good.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to give him credit. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I will say the one thing that got a lot of stick at the time, and I don't think was fair, was Ben Affleck. I thought he was fine as Daredevil the whole time.
Yeah.
I even in the theatrical cut, he was perfectly fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, good casting. I just don't feel like there was.
Yeah, and I like Jon Favreau as Foggy as well too.
Yeah.
Also, just didn't quite coalesce and didn't quite have an edge. It didn't really leave much of a mark.
Oh, and also interesting to go back and look at. I didn't even catch this until a recent viewing of the movie. Karen Page in that movie, who is mostly, I think, in the director's cut. I don't think she's much.
I think you're right.
Theatrical, is played by the chick from Grey's Anatomy.
Yep.
The main chick.
Ellen Pompeo.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, where'd she come from? What the hell is that?
Same thing with Coolio. Most of his stuff wound up on the cutting room floor, and it's all
he was
director's
really
cut.
good too.
All of his stuff.
He's not at all in the theatrical cut, in the shit cut of it.
Yeah. But no, I don't think the movie was it's interesting that the TV series, for all the talk of how much better the TV series is than the movie, it does a lot of the same things as the movie. At least the director's cut, it does, which is interesting. Oh, and another thing we have to say before we move on is that Michael Clark Duncan was awesome as the Kingpin.
Oh yeah,
he was legitimately. That's the cool thing.
Kingpin
That's
a great cast. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Kingpin's been in 2 movies, and he's been adapted twice for Daredevil media, and he's been great both times, which is really, really cool. Different interpretation, but still really good. And I know Michael Clark Duncan was a big comic fan and literally gained like an insane amount of weight for that. Like just ate nothing but pies and dough, which I'm sure was really tough for him.
I would say hopefully that didn't add to his issues.
That was much later. So
I know. Yeah. No,
he literally he embodied probably more than even more than D'Onofrio. He actually built up, like he studied samurai weight building or not samurai, but sumo weight building.
No, but you're right. I love how Michael kind of played like the classic version in a weird way.
He did,
and then Vincent's version is like the complete, like, I don't know what you call it, like mind fucked version.
Yeah, it's the Brian Michael it's the Brian Michael Bendis kind of version, basically, is the kind of scared kid who's big and fat. But he like built a whole bunch of muscle underneath all the fat, so he kind of had the sumo thing going on, which was pretty neat. But he was very good. May he rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And physically, in terms of just a body, then I agree that he was the absolute best fit for the role. But Vincent D'Onofrio, he was something as well. But of course, they were just the second and third men to play the Kingpin, respectively. There was one before.
That's right.
And I'm curious, Razorfist, what do you think about the first live-action appearance of Daredevil and the Kingpin
I know what you're talking about.
in the Trial of the Incredible Hulk?
Trial of the Incredible Hulk.
1988.
What the thing that blows my mind the most about it, and it I like it. I actually like the movie. I thought it was fun. One of the cooler little pieces of Hulk media. And isn't Thor in that too?
No, that's the previous one.
That's the previous one.
They made 3 of the direct to TV follow-ups, and 2 of them were meant to be backdoor pilots.
Yep.
Return of the Incredible Hulk was a backdoor pilot for a Thor series that never happened, whereas Trial of the Incredible Hulk was the backdoor pilot for a Daredevil series that never happened.
Tom, you were about to say something.
I think we missed out with Daredevil, because I think that part was actually really good. But that's me, Mr. Konkle.
You were going to say something.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It just bounced on your end. I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, no.
Okay, my bad. Sorry, go ahead.
It was John Rhys Davies that was.
Yes,
it was.
He was the Kingpin. Mr. Jim Lee himself, as Techiman Blade pointed
You'll have
out
to toss me.
in the comments.
Yes. Nobody tosses a dwarf. He's really good in terms of voice and countenance. And actually, I think the guy who did the voice in the animated series of Spider-Man probably took a lot from John Rhys Davies in terms of like the way he delivered his dialogue, right? That's sort
I'm
of
trying
like,
to remember who did the voice now.
I can't remember. It's a voice actor I've heard before, but
somebody in the chat will remember.
That kind of dignified upper class kind of thing, which is another element of, I mean, the guy wears a cravat, for crying out loud, or an ascot. So, you know, he's got class, but either that or he's a 70s porn star. But he was really good, actually, and I thought that movie was actually pretty good. And I think the most interesting piece of trivia about the Trial of the Incredible Hulk with Daredevil in it is if you go look up images of Daredevil in that, he's got the big nylon on his head. Literally, this was before. A lot of people think this was an adaptation of Man Without Fear, the Frank Miller version of Daredevil, where he got the sort of half face black bandana mask thing going on. But actually, that came after. So Frank Miller, I'm known primarily for being one of the most gritty writers in comics. Miller watched Trial of the Incredible Hulk and based his Man Without Fear Daredevil costume on Rex Miller with the woman's nylons on his head. Freaking amazing. And it's in the new Daredevil series. That blows my mind clean.
I did not know the connection, but that's awesome.
You know what blows my mind? Maybe this is heresy from your point of view, but that's the best Daredevil ever looked. I love that black suit, and when he got like his proper Daredevil suit, it was like, oh, that was my reaction, and I was so happy to see that back again in season 3.
Oh, I hated that. I hated The thing I hated most about it was, number one, the suit that they made looked really good. The Daredevil suit was actually pretty cool. Although it was kind of weird. It kind of had a combat fatigues look.
I wasn't a fan of that part where it's all sectioned off. I wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah, not that big of a fan of that element of it. But they were iterating on it, and it was changing. In season 2, it looked different from season 1. It looked a little bit more like a traditional superhero costume. But in season 3, it made no sense that he literally, the reason why he wouldn't be wearing the outfit, the sort of plot reason in terms of him being framed for something and the other Daredevil running around, that reason expires within 5 episodes. And every time after that, where he's just wearing the black bandana, it's just fan service at that point. Like, there's no explanation given. So it was like they just wanted to bring back the black bandana because, hey, we got a bunch of accolades in season 1, and let's go back to that. It was goofy. And then they called attention to it in that scene where he's going to fight the gladiator, and Gladiator has a literal Daredevil suit in front of his face and gives it to him. And then he leaves without taking the Daredevil suit. So he literally could have had a suit to go fight Bullseye in, and he decides not to. It was really dumb. It was fan service is what it was. And like hipster fan service, like not real Daredevil fan service, like Netflix fan service. It was bad. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, I wasn't. I guess like I don't even remember season 3 that well of it. But I have to say I am excited for, or at least excited, maybe the wrong word. I hope that they're going to just do a soft reboot, keep Charlie Cox, and build upon what Netflix did right and do it better.
Yes, I hope that too. I hope that this is an opportunity to do a better job, have some new creative blood come in, and really do justice to the Daredevil character.
You should probably I would say, if he's not busy, I know he's been really working all over the place since he did Daredevil. So for those who don't know, there was a different showrunner on every season. So on season 1, it was Stephen S. DeKnight, probably known best for Spartacus, but he's gone on to do other things. And he was supposed to work with Netflix, and that was why he left, and then that fell through. He actually was really cool. He gave a lot of praise. I did a review for season 1, and he really liked it and shouted it out there, which I have to thank him for. Yeah. But he was really good.
What series that he was supposed to be showrunner for before he had his falling out with Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
Conan the Barbarian.
Yes, it was Conan.
That's right.
Thank you. Of course, because he was the Spartacus guy. I had heard that before, but that fell through. And so he wound up in the lurch. He had made this great Daredevil show and then left, and then didn't even get to make the thing he wanted to go make. So, and then season 2 came along, and they used the guys who were just under him to make season 2, which is why it feels pretty similar to season 1. And then for season 3, they brought in this guy, Eric Olson, who I don't think much of. And he was all right, but you could see the look of the show took a slight hit. The cinematography took a slight hit. It didn't look, it just generally the vibe and feel of it. Some of that might have been budgetary. Who knows? Because there's shots in season 1 and 2 that are like a classic film noir shot. This is something that doesn't get praised enough. In season 1 and 2 is that
I agree. It was very noir. Yeah,
super noir, and season 3 loses some of that. It's not all gone. There's still some jaw-dropping stuff in there, but you could tell either it was the budget or just Eric Olson and whoever the DP was under him didn't have the sensibility. Whatever it was that happened there, it just didn't look quite right. Season 3, you could literally do like a time skip and have, because Daredevil, the constant push-pull with Matt Murdock and Daredevil is he's trying to get out of the Daredevil thing because it destroys everything. It destroys all his friendships. It destroys his work life. It destroys his professional opportunities and his happiness. And yet it's like an addiction, which I thought season 2 handled that pretty well with him being kind of similarly addicted to Elektra. But the idea is Elektra just sort of embodies this going out and kicking people's asses addiction that he has.
Right.
So
not to mention everybody ends up dead too around him.
That too, especially the women.
Elektra, Karen Page, Heather Glenn, everybody,
Spoiler alert for the Of course, I don't know. In 2020 politics, they may make Daredevil die and Karen Page stays alive and becomes Daredevil.
She accidentally gets blinded.
That was another thing I hated about season 3. She literally winds up saving Daredevil at the end. They not only don't wind up following the comics where she dies, she winds up saving Daredevil from Bullseye at the tail end.
I'm kind of glad I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, why didn't she think of just laying hands on this guy when he was killing all those people around her earlier in the series? Interesting.
That was one thing we did not bring up when we were talking about the movie Daredevil. Colin Farrell is fucking Bullseye. Holy shit, was that amazing. I want a fucking costume.
Do you let
They had great cast. Yeah.
More peanuts. Do you like your acting hickory smoke or honey glazed? Jesus
Oh
Christ.
man, he was great in it though. He hammed it up as mother. You're right. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Speaking of hamming it up, we're gonna ham it up with this super chat here. Bear Business sends this $25 super chat. Says this stream is why YouTubers are growing as traditional content is dying. Starts with some news, then transitions to fans talking passionately about when things were good and how to make things good again. Thanks for the content. Or even when things weren't that great, like Daredevil, but they're better than probably a lot of the crap we get nowadays. And that's what always happens over on Mead. Like, Rob knows what I'm talking about because he's there, but, Tom has stopped by from time to time, too.
Yep.
Like, that always happens. We end up starting with some news story, and by the end, we're talking about the Beatles or Bond or
That's right.
something, the Muppets. It never fails. It's always the same.
That's the thing. Creatively, you learn from the past. You learn from what was good and what you appreciate and what you like. And there's nothing wrong with looking back at things and going, this is what I loved about it. This is why I remember it. We're creating new things now that people 20 years from now hopefully will look back on. But you have to have a sense of where stuff came from. You can't just create in a vacuum.
Right. And Brightest Day sends us $2. Says, great stream, guys. Needed the entertainment today. Well, glad that you were entertained, and we're glad to have Tom and Razorfist with us. Last minute joined by late Razorfist, but hey, we're not going to complain at all.
Yeah, it was interesting. I really liked what you had to say.
I need to break down. I need to do a film noir archives on something newer, and Daredevil would be a good thing because I do think like the first 2 seasons are full blown noir.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
I would love to do
up.
a noir thing with you sometime because I'm very passionate about it. That's why I'm.
Yeah, I did. You mentioned Out of the Past. I did a whole like almost an hour-long breakdown of Out of the Past.
Yeah,
and I did
my
one
favorite noir film. It's the great grandfather of my movie. Yeah, I love that.
Fantastic. My favorite noir is The Big Combo, but I
love The Big Combo. I just got it on Blu-ray. Yeah.
Oh man, that's my favorite thing, and I apologize for dragging us off on an aside here. But
that's all right.
No, you're talking to him.
That's how we roll.
We're fans. Don't worry.
Yeah, my favorite thing about The Big Combo, as far as the Blu-ray releases and whatnot, are very few of those classic Hollywood noir were filmed in wide. A lot of them were filmed in kind of a widescreen frame, but then boxed down.
Yes.
Right?
They boxed them down to 4:3. Yeah.
The Big Combo is one of the few movies that was shot with widescreen in mind because it was such a cheapie. Yep. So you actually can buy this movie in widescreen.
In widescreen, yeah, and you get the full benefit of the frame. You see what he's doing, and it's such that movie has the best villain. That guy is just unbelievably good.
Richard Conte crushes it. I love it. You gotta have the hate.
Yeah, you got you gotta have the hate. Every one of his lines is just this beautiful monologue. It's just
and he totally eats out a chick on screen in 1955.
Yes, that was so edgy for back then. I could not believe they got away with it.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's anybody that hasn't seen it, check out The Big Combo and Out of the Past. Nice. They're amazing.
Yeah. Devil's Deuce sends in a Canadian $5. Says Marvel TV had an almost sexual desire to take heroes out of the costumes. Pun intended, I assume. They constantly took all Marvel heroes out of costumes, even made fun of them.
That was a Jeff Loeb thing, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe that was literally a directive from Jeff Loeb when they started making these shows was never have them in the costume. This is one of the things that killed Iron Fist. It's Iron. Now, there was some bad writing at play there, too. But Iron Fist... there were a couple of times where they got him in the little yellow bandana and whatever, and Jeff Loeb apparently just menstruated for days, just could not handle it, and it was like they wanted them in street clothes all the time, which I think had a lot to do with Daredevil season 3 too.
Yeah, probably. That would not surprise me, because I think that black outfit is really, really cool. I liked how he looked in the Rex Smith version, so I like to see the callback to it there. But yeah, I can absolutely see that would be more Jeff Loeb mismanagement. Because if you look back at the Netflix Daredevil ordeal as a whole, really the only really good things there, in my point of view, and you maybe feel free to disagree, were the first 2 seasons of Daredevil. Other than that is a mixed bag.
Yeah.
And by mixed, I mean passable to really bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jessica Jones season 1 I liked a lot. I thought it was handled pretty well. David Tennant was really good in it. It was padded. Oh my God, was it padded?
Yeah.
In the middle portion. But I thought in the overall, it was a really good series. If it had ended at season 1, problem was they sort of shot their wad in season 1. They killed the Purple Man at the end of that. Sorry, spoilers for anyone who didn't watch it. But they took like her most interesting villain and wasted him at the end of the season.
Yeah, strange move writing wise. That was weird. Yeah.
And where do you go from there? Where in the hell do you go from there? If it had just been a series, like a mini series, that would have been great, perfectly encapsulatory. We'd probably be talking about Jessica Jones as one of the better Marvel things that had been made. But then a season 2 happened. And they had no idea where they were going, and it was really obvious they had no idea where they were going, and it felt like it.
Yeah.
That was kind of the thing that happened there. And Cage, I didn't think a whole lot of, and Iron Fist had great intro music and nothing else.
I don't even remember the intro. I just remember it being all bad, all boring, all painful, all just horrible across the board. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah. I mean, you get one of the Lord of the Rings actors, and you get Faramir instead of Boromir. Really? What the hell? Hell, guys.
Well, that's the thing about when you go into a show, it's only as good as its personnel. You have to have people with a vision. You have to have the right cast. You have all of it. And sometimes you learn more, though, from the failures than you do the successes. I think the one positive you can take is look at what went wrong with that show, with Iron Fist, and try and learn from that as to how to handle a character like that or how to handle a series in the future. You just look at what went wrong and don't replicate it.
Yeah, I remember thinking when that show was about to come out, I just thought, well, I guess the way that you would do this, because we didn't know anything about it, we knew the actor, and that was it.
Yeah.
And thinking, well, this probably needs to be a little bit like a superhero Into the Badlands. This needs to be like a kung fu show.
Yes. Yeah, that would have been.
And it was not that, even a little bit.
Yeah.
It was not.
Yeah.
What's the Marvel movie that's coming out that's based or inspired by Bruce Lee? What's the name of that?
Shang-Chi, The Deadly Hands of Kung fucking Fu, my friend.
Do we know? Did that get finished? Because I know the director.
I don't think they did get to finish it yet.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what they do with that, because if they do that like an old school 70s Bruce Lee movie, they would have a huge hit on their hands.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll see.
I'm sure they hope that they're going to be successful, because Lord knows they're going to need some success right about now.
Yeah, but when you're getting down to Shang-Chi on, what are we on, phase 5 or whatever of Marvel, when I mean, as much as I like Shang-Chi, you can hear the ladle scraping the bottom of the barrel there a little bit.
Well, that's the thing, is I don't know if it's so much them scraping the bottom of the barrel as they're looking for diversity hires. Even inside the Marvel universe.
Let me tell you something. I read Marvel comics religiously all throughout the 80s and much in the 90s, even in 2000s. And when I first heard that, I said, who the fuck is Shang-Chi? And it's
the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu.
And I hear, Shang-Chi was awesome. It was so awesome. I remember Shang-Chi. I'm like, you're a liar. You don't remember Shang-Chi.
I know. Motherfucker, unless you have a 401k, you weren't alive.
Razorfist is the only one I could probably believe it if you said it. Yes.
Yeah, but he didn't say it was cool.
No, but I'm just saying he knew who Shang-Chi was. But
I read Daredevil. I read Daredevil. I read Captain America. I read a few of the street level heroes. A couple of my buddies, they read Moon Knight and like more of the street level heroes, like Heroes for Hire, Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Shang-Chi never came up once, not a single time. So don't give me this bullshit. Oh, Shang-Chi is awesome. You don't know who the fuck Shang-Chi is. Nobody knows who he is.
You sound like the chick in the movie. You don't know anything about Silent Hill. No, Shang-Chi actually was in the Marvel Knights comic, I believe, the very first one.
That nobody bought.
That nobody bought. I loved Marvel Knights though, so blow me. But it was Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is pretty cool, but it's like 70s kung fu exploitation. It was during that whole heroes for hire kind of era and whatnot, where you had it was Marvel exploitation era. It was black exploitation with Luke Cage with Power Man, and then
That's right.
Kung fu
part of that whole
exploitation.
And they're trying to cash in on Enter the Dragon and Shaft.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking go all in. Do an Enter the Dragon style movie now. Everything old is new again. You could do an amazing film. And then, it's an obscure character, but it's an opportunity.
appropriating something.
That's exactly what Stanley did, though. He's like, what are the kids into nowadays?
Yeah.
Well, Stanley like the Bruce Lee and the Shaft. Well, Excelsior, let's do those.
Let's do that. Yeah.
That's all it was, I guarantee you.
That's even how Conan came to Marvel. Like when Roy Thomas first wrote it, Stanley was like, "Yeah, I don't get this. It's not for me, but you get it, and the kids seem to like it, so go with it."
And that's right. And isn't that how stuff usually gets sold in Hollywood? I mean, and at least in the old days, you have an older guy says, "You know what? I really don't get this, but go ahead, the kids seem to like it. Let's take a chance on it."
Howard,
Oh,
the Duck.
absolutely.
I don't
That's
get it.
Absolutely how it
Go
happens.
for it.
Yeah.
Excelsior.
Howard, this Howard the Duck, I don't quite get it. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, the best thing you can possibly watch to commemorate the late Stan Lee is his rant about not liking prequels. It's the best thing ever.
I never liked prequels. I always thought there was something lacking in them.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see that. Is that on YouTube?
I was going to
It
say,
is on
did you guys
YouTube.
happen to see the new animation that just popped up? Somebody
Yes, where
the F word?
I'm pretty sure whatever that audio is, it was probably from when they were filming one of his rants.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was asking Andre if we could show it or not, but he didn't answer me yet. But we got a couple more super chats here, just the same. Devil's Due sends in a Canadian $2. Don't tell Razor about when CM Punk did Shang-Chi.
Did him? Like literally did him?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I don't think about literal. I'm talking about. I was thinking the other way, but yeah. I normally don't get away with the little videos on the morning show, but I'll do this.
Hey, phrasing!
Phrasing.
Adam Wolford also says, we lost Razor Fist.
Oh, did we lose him?
There he is. He's back. He's
Sorry
having an audio issue. No, that's all right.
Yeah.
Finally, Razor Sharp, and Midnight's Edge together at last. I super chat Razor over a year ago to get these awesome people on. Well, thank you for that, Adam. I did not know you did that. We, of course, have been fans of Razor Fist since YouTube. And I don't know if he's watched our stuff or not, but I know we've
All the
talked
time.
in the past.
All the
I was
time.
going to say, I think you have, so yeah.
Yes.
Didn't want to assume, though.
I watch just for the daily utterance of Frankensteinian abomination.
That reminds me, I have to do the Frankenstein retrospective, and and then people can have a drinking game with it. That should be fun.
Okay, that has to happen in 2021. That has to happen.
Yes. You do need to do a Frankenstein retrospective, though. Seriously, I believe I found your channel incidentally because I'm obsessed with the Shadow, and you did a retrospective of the Shadow. You also did one of the Phantom, right?
Yes, the Phantom. I haven't done one on the Shadow yet.
You need to. Okay,
Phantom
the Phantom. Yeah,
The
it was. I
Phantom,
was watching videos on the Shadow, and there was a Phantom recommended.
Oh yeah,
The
we
Phantom.
did a Shadow episode. I did one of the first, the old Orson Welles original script. I did on Zoom as a live performance of the
Nice.
Shadow.
I recreated a couple of those too, actually.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
The Phantom mini doc was one of the first ones that Andre had me narrate.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
It was the second one, actually. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was the second or the third, and I remember that.
Right after
Really well done. It was
right
really
after
well
Morgan
done.
Kane, right after the Legend of Morgan Kane.
Well, if you need any help on
actually
it,
was a discussion. It wasn't the documentary, but yeah, that was like the first discussion that we did.
Yeah.
should do a shadow.
If you ever wind up doing the shadow,
Yeah.
this guy right here. I'm just
You
saying.
guys,
I do a
would do an incredible one in the shadow.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind.
Shameless plug, by the way. I do a shadow podcast. I do. It's
Oh, that's
called
great.
the Shadowcast. It's like a separate thing. I don't really advertise it much, but it's just dedicated to the shadow. So
Razor, I will send you the shadow we did. We did it with live sound effects and everything. I'll send
right
it to
on.
you. Yeah, you'll
Love
get a
it.
kick out of it.
So yeah, that reminds me, I have to do a Shadow retrospective first. But first, a Zorro retrospective. That's starting to get urgent now. Because this year marks the 100-year anniversary of the very first Zorro feature film, Mark of Zorro. That's from 1920. And I missed the 100-year anniversary of The Curse of Capistrano, which was last year. But I still have a few weeks to do the Zorro retrospective.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah.
Zorro. I always hold up Zorro, Sherlock Holmes, and King Arthur, and Robin Hood as examples of why the public domain is not necessarily a good thing.
Wizard of Oz. Jesus Christ, poor Wizard of Oz. Oh. Oh man, I'm so tired of seeing Dorothy in a bustier, and so tired of seeing the Tin Man as a steampunk robot. Thank you very much.
I always everything should be in the public domain. Batman should be in the public domain, and I always counter by saying, do you know how many bad versions of Batman we'd get?
Yeah,
if it was in the public domain. Oh, but some of them would be awesome. I'm like, yeah, and getting to those awesome ones would take a very long time because we'd have to sift through the thousands of bad ones.
Yeah.
Just wait until the BBC takes on the Wizard of Oz. That should be fun after this world and what they're in the process of doing to Around the World in 80 Days, which I'm going to get back to right away. But yeah, Mr. Tickle Drunk, sorry, I'm thinking Mr. Tickle Trunk for $5 Canadian says, Andre, take this one. That's the stuff. You're welcome, chat. Yeah, you got to roll those R's.
Yes. What am I hearing here? It sounds like you're being attacked by a chorus of angry bees.
I don't know. That's somebody's background noise. I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway. Did we want to check out this video real quick, Andre, or did you want to not take a chance?
Fine. Is it going to take down the whole stream? Because if so, I'd rather.
Mine's still up. I don't think I've gotten a claim yet. To be honest with you, I'm just saying I can't say it won't get a claim in the future. You know.
Well, then I'd rather not. But
okay. All right. Yeah. Well, then we won't play it.
We'll link to it and put the link in the chat, and then everyone else can go check that out.
All right. We'll do that. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on this morning, Andre? Or
no, I think that we're all good. So with that, I'd like to say thanks to Tom Konkle for joining us from the beginning.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was really interesting with our additional guests.
Yeah, and that was the second thing. Thanks to Razorfist, our additional guest, for joining us once you heard the word Daredevil.
Yeah, it's like a dog whistle, really. I just come running.
We were hoping to have you on sooner because we had a lot of Conan news that just came up too. But
see, I'm more of a. You want to bring me on for the Solomon Kane stuff. You don't want to be. I'm way more into the Solomon Kane than the Conan.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, either way, we'll have to reschedule again.
We'll reschedule something.
Pencil me in for the 5th of Never when something Solomon Kane related comes out. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Somebody has inside knowledge.
We have. Yeah.
No.
That was a great movie, by the way.
I loved that movie, actually. It was a shame that director went on to make the shitty Silent Hill sequel. Yeah. That was a shame. That pretty much ended his career.
Yeah, we should
go to director jail.
Yeah. we should have gotten Solomon Kane 2 and 3 instead.
We recently talked to somebody about that Solomon Kane movie, but that's all I'm going to say for now. Until
you're goddamn! Come on, my
Dirty.
my
Well, stick
balls are
around,
blue in the
Razorfist.
Caribbean right now.
Well,
say stick
I said
around, Razorfist.
we talked about it. That talk hasn't been made public yet, so just
Okay.
stick around.
Okay.
We'll tell you when we get done here. Dirty Soul Monkey, I love that name. That's awesome. That's at 5 pounds. Loved the 90s pulp movies, Phantom, Shadow, Dick Tracy, Rocketeer, Darkman. Will we ever see the like again? I want pulp shared universe. I almost would throw Roger Rabbit in there. I like that as a good noir film.
And
as
Doc
well.
Savage.
And
Which
Doc
Shane Black
Savage,
was in.
yeah.
Doc Savage was 70s, wasn't it? Like 70s Doc Savage. Anyways, yeah, there was a Doc Savage movie, I think late 70s or something.
Yeah, and
But-
Shane Black was developing one a few years
As
ago.
for those characters, you're not going to see them anytime soon, and the
I
reason
think,
for that.
there's some. I think you might see them on the small
Well,
screen.
we got the girl Rocketeer thing on Disney, but that's
let's not talk about that.
Yeah,
Nobody else does. Why should we sully our
I
mouths
know
with
I
it?
shouldn't have.
Exactly.
But the Doc Savage actually was just greenlit for a TV series. Condé Nast they've been shacking up with companies that specialize in streaming television media, and I did a whole podcast on this actually. And it sounds like here's what I find curious: when the Shadow, throughout his history, they've made these big pushes. Right in the early '70s, they were going to do a cartoon show, and Jim Steranko and Alex Toth were going to be involved in it. And Alex Toth, there's even some like little proto animation cells of this Shadow series that he was going to work on. And at that same time, they re-released all the pulps, and they gave the comic book license to DC. So this is generally what they do. They'll have like a big push for the character. They'll give a bunch of people the license and they'll push it out there. And that happened in the 90s, of course, when the Alec Baldwin film came out and Dark Horse got the comic license and there were action figures and so on. Same thing happened recently in 2012, where Dynamite got the comic book license. They tried to develop a film with Sam Raimi, I believe, making a Shadow movie, and didn't happen for whatever reason, development hell. So generally what'll happen is they'll make a big push, but before that, they'll take all the licenses away so they can give them to someone else. That just happened again. And it just happened at the same time that they announced a Doc Savage TV series. So everybody loses the Shadow licenses at the same time that the Doc Savage TV series. I have a feeling something's in the works.
That would make sense. Yeah.
If you look at the pattern with Condé Nast, that tends to be what's happened. So.
Yeah, could be. Well, fingers crossed for that for Doc Savage. As for the Phantom, that's actually where you have good opportunity for a shared universe, because you have the same corporate owner of the Phantom, of Flash Gordon, and of Mandrake the Magician, and with that also comes Lothar. So like the same corporate owner of all of them. Sadly, this is a corporate owner that really doesn't care about those properties and does not monetize them or like really do what they could with them. And until they understand that, oh, hey, actually, we have some movies that we can do, or we can do a shared universe. We can do it in streaming now. Until they figure that out, you're going to get like one-offs, like Savage Dragon, like Doc Savage, not Savage Dragon. That's something else entirely. But so yeah,
I would love to pitch them like a Howard Chaykin influenced Shadow. I think that would be amazing to do with the look of that series. I don't know if you ever saw what Howard Chaykin did with the Shadow, but it was a really interesting.
He did
that would be my pitch.
The Shadow, Blood and Judgment, which was
Blood and Judgment.
It was kind of like, if you guys like the style of like the Dark Knight Returns, where it's kind of in that vibe in terms of reinventing the character, sort of for the 80s, it was that kind of idea, basically.
Yeah, it would be fun to do something like that kind of reinvention. That would be a lot of fun to make. I would pitch that in a second. It's been on my wish list for about 10 years.
Yeah. And that, like, fortunately that you were mentioning the shared universe thing, that's another chance for shared universe with Doc Savage and Shadow being part of the same universe. So you not only have the Phantom part of a shared universe with the Defenders of the Earth and Mandrake the Magician and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the same thing is true of the Doc Savage and Shadow stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I would be in heaven if I could do that. My dream of my production company was to create pulp pulp adventure films, pulp characters and things. I would love to do something like that. I think there's a huge market for it. They just haven't tapped it.
Yeah, totally. And something like The Shadow, if you were to adapt a pulp, those would not be expensive to make.
Not at all.
You're talking a street level, low lighting, so you can get away with shabby sets.
Yeah. Oh, I would shoot it the way I shoot my film noir. I would do it the same way. I would turn it into a strength. The fact that you didn't have a lot, you could make much with little because you would use light and you would use mood and you would have fun stories and really great characters, just get great actors. And there are so many untapped possibilities with those. I would love to see something like that. And maybe there'll be an opportunity to do that.
Yep. Same here. I hope so.
One can hope. Anyway, gentlemen, with that, I would like to thank you both for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to start with Daredevil and end with some great pulp entertainment that we all could use more of. And I'd like to thank every single one in the chat for joining us for all this time. It's always a pleasure for you to make us part of your day. Make sure that you follow us and check out our live shows on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. LA time. Make it part of your day. We would greatly appreciate it. Check out our regular videos. We have the Star Wars video coming in just a few hours ago, so do check that out. And Razor Fist, where can people find you?
I can be bearded pretty much everywhere. Let's see here. You can pretty much see me on YouTube, obviously, the Rageaholic channel. You can find me I'm even on Parler. I'm on Tumblr, for Christ's sake. BitChute.com/razorfist as well. And of course, on the Twitter. So
Tumblr's still a thing?
Isn't it? Well, I'm a weirdo in that I heard that it was a blog website, and so I use it as a blog website. Very strange, I know. Very, very odd and non-traditional. But it literally is just it's just my website. That's all I do. It's just a blog.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Tom Konkle, where can people find you? And which movie of yours should they check out, and where can they find that?
Well, let's see. There's a couple places. You can find me on Twitter under Tom Konkle. You can find me here on YouTube. It's called The Real Deal with Tom Konkle. You'll see trailers for the various movies and things I've done. I have a movie called Noise in the Middle, which will be coming out on all platforms December 9th. I have a movie out now called Trouble Is My Business, which is a love letter to film noir. And you can also find me on Instagram, either under Tom Konkle or Trouble Is My Biz. So I'd love to hear from anyone.
I should have mentioned, by the way, I should have plugged. I'm not enough of a whore. See, you have the right idea. We were talking about pulp entertainment. I just released a pulp. It's called The Long Moonlight, and it's dark fantasy noir.
Oh, that's good.
And it's out now and doing insanely well. You can get it everywhere. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, absolutely everywhere. It's fully illustrated, and it's really short read because it's a pulp. So, yeah, there's going to be more of them if you guys like them. But, go check that out. It's on part of the Night Vale series. It's on nightvalenovels.com.
Oh, wow. That's terrific. I'll check it out.
Yeah, thank you. All
right. Excellent. With that, again, I would like to say thank you to everyone for joining us, and be sure to come back later. If the stars align, we may have a Mandalorian roundtable for you later tonight, and maybe we'll have a Star Trek thing with Burnett next couple of days. So that's the hope, at least.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Take care, everybody, and have a good weekend.